and we are live with Roundabout Cast 81. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually been one of the biggest gaps between an episode, I think.
I feel like we
Really?
say that every other time.
No, but for
Yeah.
real this time, it's been 5 weeks. Usually, it's between 3 and 4. So
On the realist, I have a coworker whose birthday I saw, like they announced their birthdays in Slack, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do birthday Slacks anymore. I'm gonna go tell him in person. I told him today, and he goes, "Dude, my birthday was 3 weeks ago."
Oh,
What? Wait, how did you think it was today?
I didn't think it was today. I thought it was like, oh, I missed it by a couple days.
Oh my god.
Lamau.
I thought it was this week.
Jesus. You tried. You know what? A for effort, right?
For such a long time, as Willard suggests, we don't really have nearly as much as we've had some previous times.
No, yeah, I've been low energy, so I'm trying to squeeze
Same.
in what I can.
I don't have money to pay all the games I Google speed through usually.
We've
Yeah.
also been playing a lot of One Piece IRL.
True.
We're trying to get our One Piece game up.
That has been like a good chunk of like hobby time is the One Piece card
Yeah.
game. New set came out. You know the score. We out here spending money. Me and Joe opened up an online store, not together, separately. He copied
Yeah.
me because he saw that I was raking in the cash.
Well, it was just like I was looking into it, and I thought at first like you actually needed like a storefront or something, but I think that's like through the pro membership or whatever it's called, and I figured out how to do your own personal one.
I have mostly good reviews. One person sent me one bad review without context. And I was like, hey, fuck you. Everyone
oh my
else,
god.
everyone else loves me. I sent him an alt art e-show, and he was not happy with it. I think my secret tech, I have a very low cost operation. I use a pen and stamps and an envelope, and I get like a little card sleeve, and I put the card that they requested, and then like 3 cards that I'm trying to get rid of, just like commons that I don't
Oh.
want to take up space, to make like a bit of like a thicker little card pack.
You should make like custom packs. Like get enough that would usually be in a pack. And
I
send it to them.
I send 2 of them that are kind of relevant to the color of the card they want, and then a rando that I just want to throw in there to get rid
Oh,
of.
that's cool. Like you're
No,
actually kind of curating it.
No,
I
Joe
curate
means
it
like
slightly.
steal a new booster pack and send that to them, and then
No,
put the
that's not
card
what I
they
mean.
bought at the back, so that it's like, oh shit, I got an alternate e-show.
That's
cool.
fucking funny, actually.
No,
That's
Willer.
good.
For one person, your extra cards you put in there, just put some Moby Dicks in there.
Now that would make me the Moby Dick. For context, that card is banned.
And the Kabaji.
Weird that it's just completely banned, right? It's not even a one.
Oh, but like that, I think if that card wasn't banned, like who would be playing anything but Whitebeard? Like,
Yeah.
it's
True.
it's so nutty.
Shit's cracked.
Yeah.
That aside, who wants to go first with their quick talks? Patent. I will go
I'll
first because you were too slow.
Okay.
All right. Games are saving me right now. I'm like, I haven't been doing so hot, but this year is so crazy with the games where like I just get
Games too good.
stimulated by the video games and don't have to worry about anything because they're just like getting
Yeah.
drip fed. Not even drip fed. Like I'm sitting at a table and there's a trough directly into my mouth with good game content.
Yeah.
So recently, well, I'll talk briefly about 2 of the games. The Capcom Double Pack here. New
Yes.
DLC character came out in Street Fighter, and I really like playing her, even though she's low tier. I don't know what it is with that game. I keep getting attracted to the low tier characters. It's just my fucking luck. But she's really fun to play. So I was going through a period there where like Chipotle was hosting a tournament every night, and I was just
That
like
was wild.
doing Chipotle tournaments and like rank grinding, and it was so fun. Oh my god, that game's a blast. And like goofing around in the battle hub, doing some story mode. Like it just has content. The Manon grind, which is my other main, is ever present. I think I want to phase into an Aki main, who's the new character, but I'm still trying to get Manon to master. I'm in Diamond 4, which is like, oh god, it's getting sweaty up here, y'all. So,
Yeah, you're 2 tiers away.
yeah, exactly. And Diamond 5 is basically a victory lap because once you get 5, you hit master. But that Diamond 4 one is
Yeah.
worrisome one right now. So it's fun. They gave us a backpack that's a Chipotle burrito, which was giving the player base too much power. Because
True.
in Street Fighter 6, you can take any accessory and enlarge and rotate it and put it anywhere in your body. So I made my character a Chainsaw Man character where my head is just a big burrito. And I really like that about her. It's great. Most people are just walking burritos, though. I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, I just unlocked that burrito backpack because I hadn't been playing in a hot minute, but I played a few rounds last night.
Yeah, you gotta squeeze in the burrito backpack.
Yeah.
Before it goes away forever. They're also like they gave us a bunch of emotes that are Kurosawa manga, like Astro Boy and
What?
And
Oh,
fucking
cool.
the detective one that he wrote. Like I don't know all the Kurosawa. That is no.
Conan or whatever.
No, it's not. Wait,
It's not. Is
it's
it
not Kurosawa.
Is
What's his
that a
name?
detective? I don't know.
No, yes, I know Conan the detective, but that's not the same guy.
Yeah,
No, it's
no way.
Tetsuka. Tetsuka, whatever, because he has the prize named after him. Anyways, his manga,
Okay.
like, we just got random stickers for them, and that's really cute. I like the social aspect of that game. It's just a good vibe.
He has a manga called Message to Adolf or something. I just typed him in. I don't.
You know,
But go ahead.
Japan has an interesting history with
Yeah.
with whole Adolf,
yeah.
don't they? But
I
you
don't.
know,
I always think about that. That's why there's so many German people in like anime.
reading Bleach was a fun time. That's all I'll say. Anyways, Bleach is great, but there's some the last antagonist in Bleach are like they're called the alphabet Nazis because it's they literally makes 26 new antagonists, one for each letter of the alphabet, and A gets 3 letters. There's 3 A's. And they're all German as fuck Nazi parallels. That they're great. That's the best villain group, but you know, yeah, Japanese people, yeah, they got that relationship going on. But I've also been playing some Resident Evil 4, so Joe doesn't have to kill me.
True.
So I have been spared. I'm still pretty early on it, but chances are I'll have it beat by the next time we do a podcast, and if not, I'll be very
Probably.
close.
If you don't beat that game by the time we do next podcast, I question your ability to play survival horror games.
I think it had nothing to do with that, and just do I want to boot up the game today? Unlike Joe, who, as I mentioned earlier, has a bomb in his stomach that will explode if he doesn't snort a video game like it's cocaine. I can pace myself, so that's how
My
I do
pace is
that.
just quicker than yours. That's all that is.
No, it's not.
I'm
You
gonna
don't
just-
have a pace. That's not called a pace. That is called a binge.
Yes, it is.
It's an addiction.
Nah.
Y'all, I have the best pace and healthiest pace. I just like to throw that out there.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't play games.
Your pace is a dude. Your pace is the equivalent of a dude who gets up from his couch to go to the fridge because you play a little bit, you moved a little bit, but you just ended up back on the couch.
Look, all I'm saying is Persona 5 has aged like a fine wine now. It's twofold, you know? The fact that I still haven't beaten it, and also the fact that nothing better has come out than Persona 5.
Until February 2nd, 2024, where Persona 3 Reload comes out. I was just thinking earlier today, Tyler, how bullshit you are, because you're like, oh, Metroid Prime's only 12 hours. Bitch, you need that to finish the game. Why are you complaining? That's what you need. You should be glad that some games are short and you can actually beat them. Because it's the only way you get there. That's just the harsh facts of life.
Yeah, it's true.
Speaking of
Well,
games that
I
could
guess
fit
I
into
should
this
go ahead
wiki-
and...
Oh.
I will let you know I'm not going to beat this game that we've currently been talking about.
Sure. So speaking of games, Mario Wonder comes out, and I think me and Bradley are gonna play that.
Oh, I'm playing that shit hard.
I'm excited for that game.
I think I was actually planning to actually do the... What's that Wonder coupon that you talked about?
The voucher.
Oh, the voucher, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to do the Nintendo voucher, I think, for that and Super Mario RPG.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't.
Yeah,
wait for
I'm
that
sure
shit.
it'll be on the
That's pretty
voucher. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
used it for Zelda and this. So, I was getting worried because Nintendo had been quiet for a while. I was like, I hope I don't regret buying this voucher if something else doesn't come out because I'm not gonna get Pikmin 4. As cool as that game looks.
Yeah.
I'm just not a Pikmin boy yet. So yeah, I made it do. Aside from that, there are other miscellaneous things. I finished Yellow Jacket season 1, which I talked about last time. Um, that show's mid, and I don't use it in like the the meme way. It just it's a show
It's
that
whatever.
exists. It's maybe season 2 will be better. I just haven't been able to force myself to watch season 2 yet.
You mentioned that we were hanging out with some friends of ours, and you mentioned that to our friends that you finished the season, and they looked flabbergasted.
They were
that,
so
like,
mad.
Yeah,
They're mad because I'm doing this instead of doing the bear, which I know the bear will be good and I'll love it, but I'm like, I just want to wipe my hands clean because I downloaded 2 seasons of the show.
the Bradley methods. But
I don't know. It's okay. It was all right. Some of the mysteries were neat. Yeah, I don't know. Like I mentioned, the show is like their girls get trapped, but you see a flash forward to start the show that's like, oh, a cult or something finds them and like turns them into cannibals or some shit. That doesn't happen at all in season 1. It's just them doing like normal Lost in the Woods shit for the most part. One of the girls gets possessed. They eat some mushrooms and try to eat one of the boys. That aside, all normal, all standard stuff. But yeah, we'll see. I can't wait to watch The Bear is all I'm gonna say. And then I've been making the very slow progress in Count of Monte Cristo. It's got its highs and it's got its lows, but I will definitely say the book has not been as strong as the prison sequence in a very long time. I'm in chapter, Jesus Christ, what chapter am I on? The number is staggering, but so I want to get it exactly right. I am on chapter 72 of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Jesus Christ.
The high days were in the 20s, so it's been a little while. But it's like cool. It's just that like the Count is setting up so many abstract revenge long plots. Like he's doing so many long cons at once that I'm losing track of the characters. I'm losing track of what the long cons are leading to. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of fucking characters, and the Count is so mysterious. But also one of the best scenes in the book happened recently, where like he talks to his previous wife, in like a one-on-one. Like he was gonna get married, and then he got sent to prison early in the book, and he has reunited with her. She doesn't know it's him, but he knows it's her. So anytime they're interacting is like really tense for the reader, and they had a really good conversation. But aside from that, it's just like, who the fuck are these people? Like this revenge plot is so wild to where I have to pull out the spark notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. And I'm really not. Like a lot of the times it's just like the Count did this, and that's it. You're gonna have to wait for the like why that's important until later. And that is just like many layers of that kind of storytelling.
Man, I wonder. I wonder if there's an author in this modern age that does something similar for a long-running series where it just drops stuff and you don't hear about it for a long time.
Except that author makes the day-to-day fun. Like what's happening now is fun, and there's also seeds being planted, and it's also like not that complex where the plot like sold his horses to a woman and you're like, okay, and Mr. Dumas is like, yeah, find out next time.
And then he took a bite of a chip.
Yeah. It is that vibe.
It's well, like I said before, like these were books that were made to be very, very long for purposes of publication.
I know it's a shonen manga publication. I know.
And that in 1800 whatever, so like you're getting the double dose of shonen length and
it's still good.
Words.
It's still good. It's just like a lot of the times I read a chapter, I'm like, all right, I guess that happened. Like I'm a fucking the girl from Forsaken or Forspoken, whatever that game's called. Some manga I've recently read. I haven't mentioned that I caught up to Akane. Now I'm behind 3 again. But I do want to talk to Joe, do a dedicated Akane thing, because I want to talk about the characters so bad. Wow. Words do not do justice how perfect I think that series is. Like, genuinely so confident in itself, so confident in its like characters and story, and never missing a beat, and always surprising you. And Joe constantly tells me, because he's a very avid weekly reader, well, I am a stock up binger with it,
Yeah.
and he's very like you're very adamant. There, it's like for a while there, I lost faith. I wasn't sure we were going, and then he got me again. Like that is the Akane experience
Yeah.
for Joe, and
It's a
it's
it's
a
a
lot
constant.
easier for me on my end.
Yeah, it's a constant bit of like, what are we doing with this? Like, we just recently had like an arc where like they're doing a festival.
Oh my god, the
and
conclusion of that festival was so
that
good.
that scene of the two characters under the bridge and there's just one speech bubble was just so heartrending.
Oh my
It was-
god, it's peak fiction.
It's-
Like it doesn't get
so
any
good.
better than this. It's so good. Oh my
So
god,
good.
I can't wait to gush about it at an appropriate time.
Yeah.
And then I'm still very far behind in Undead Unluck, but I did talk about it like 1 or 2 podcasts
Yeah.
before. The anime's out, everyone go watch it, but Joe is very ahead of me.
I have
as
fully
he
caught
knows.
up to Undead Unluck.
Oh shit,
I-
that's like 200 chapters.
It's 179 at this point. I
Right.
think I read 120 chapters, and I know you told me you were watching it or reading it.
Yeah.
Undead Unluck is. I was going to say this for my quickies, but Undead Unluck is very good. But I think the author has some problems in terms of like when he introduces not new plot elements, but like plot turns or plot twists. They're very abrupt.
There's one that
Um,
I've run into that was like this character that you don't really know very well is actually a
Yeah.
traitor, and it's like, well, shit, I don't really care.
Well, yeah, but like I think also there's a little bit of like metaphor play there, where like
Metaphor
2 chapters
play.
later, yeah, well, I think foreplay is the wrong word, but there's a meta sense where like one of the main characters goes and talks to somebody about manga, and
God.
like that reflects on like the pacing of the story. That arc is so good.
That
I
arc
love that
is
arc.
so good. That'll probably be like season 3 or something.
Yeah.
Or 2.
Do you where are you at right now?
I haven't I still need to finish like the last few chapters of that arc. I have not had the manga reading.
Yeah, so like
but-
I think that part was very, very good. The next major fight was also incredible. And then crazy shit happens, of course. But like the tale of Undead Unluck is just it's almost inverse of a typical shonen. And it's like tonal shifts, which is I think very interesting.
Hmm.
And I don't want to go more into that
No,
until
we can
you, like,
discuss this in a future podcast. Once
But
I'm
I think
caught up.
I think this author is very confident. Like, this is the story I want to tell, and he knows where he wants this story to go.
I like me some confidence in these show
Yeah.
jumps.
And
Very good.
and because it's very clear, like you very much had already thought out like what this whole story was going to be. There's just some execution issues that he has
Mhm.
that I think he's overcoming.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because the recent stuff has been great, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But I also feel it also feels like Undead Unluck is coming to a conclusion, not like this year, but like the next like 1 or 2 years potentially.
I'll take a messy, interesting take. You know, like that's
Yeah.
I always got room for something like that, and Undead Unluck is very interesting. Well, Joe, that was
Yeah.
actually my transition into you talking. So
Yeah. So that caught the Undead Unluck, very good manga. I don't think it's on the level of Akane, but it's still really good. I recommend it. I saw 2 movies in the theater recently. The first one being Dumb Money, which is about the GameStop short squeeze fiasco, or whatever you want to call it, a few years ago, back in 2021. And it's very akin to the Big Short of like, you know, economic climate and stock market manipulation. And I thought like the movie would go more into depth about like, here's why this affects the economy, here's why like it's a good thing or a bad, not necessarily a good thing, but how it like why this is such a big deal. I think the movie fails to like really establish like the broader impact of what this means and why everyone was so obsessed with this economic system, other than like the one hedge fund guy that got screwed over. But it's a good show. It was a good movie, but I think like it wasn't nearly as, weirdly enough, educational as The Big Short was, of like, here's the whole reason this whole financial disaster happened and how it affected everyone, and like why it's kind of a crime that these people got away with it. Granted, this is a much more recent thing that happened, whereas Big Short I think came out like 4 years after uh, the Crisis in 2008, I think. Um, so it was good, but I don't think it was nearly it. I wanted to be on like Big Short level. And then I saw the creator. This is Gareth Edwards' new movie. Gareth Edwards did Star Wars Rogue One and Godzilla 2014. I really like his movies. I think he has great cinematography, and he does scale fantastically. Like he understands how to like really like get your perspective of like as an audience member, it's like, oh, this thing is fucking huge, and really kind of understand like the weight of like how big something is on the screen. Both in like it's like the way it's shot, it sounds, and like the way your characters react. I think he's a very, very good director when he does stuff like that. And the movie itself looks beautiful. The effects in it are so fucking good. It's great. It's a great looking movie. I think the big problem I have with it is that the visuals and cinematography of that movie like greatly outpace its like story that it's telling. It's just a very simple story. It's very dystopian. Like if you've read any dystopian novel, like you know what the plot of this story is. But it is a spectacle to watch, and I really enjoyed it. Like I was like, man, this is great. I'm having a good time. The climax of this movie, the climax of this movie, I don't. If he released this movie 10 years ago, I think every single person would be throwing a fit about this movie. Because it's
I've never heard, nor am I gonna watch this. So
yeah.
I think we're all curious what this could be so controversial.
Okay, I do want to watch Dumb Money.
This
not
is
Dumb
the
Money,
creator.
the creator.
Oh god damn.
Yeah. So the plot of the creator is AI has been outlawed, and so they have like all the AI robots take refuge over in Asia, just the entire like Asia continent basically. Like they don't even give you this like a country drop of where things are happening there. But the United States has built this big like Death Star like weapon that like flies over the Earth and like shoots like mini nukes down to try to blow up the AI whenever they can find them. So the whole plot is that like, you know, the AI have created this new machine that's going to take down the big Death Star thing, and your main character switches sides halfway through the movie. And his plan to take down the Death Star is to hijack a commercial plane and fly into it. Which I was just like, okay, you're gonna make your protagonist do that? That's kind of wild. But it was very, very good. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a great spectacle feat. I just don't think the story to it was nearly as impressive as I wanted it to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe 10 years ago they'd be like, why did they 9/11 the Death Star?
Like, yeah, like that's the thing, and it's not like, oh, just a force. It is the United States government like that they're fighting. That like it's yeah. I just think it's the most anti-U.S. movie I've ever seen made by a U.S. citizen. It's kind of wild.
Neat.
Yeah.
And then
That's it. That's all I got.
you also had Ahsoka.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to put it there. Ahsoka came out. I think Ahsoka was very good. I don't have a lot of things to say about it, mainly because like it's really just an extension of like the Clone Wars and the Rebels series, and I think of all the things that Dave Filoni has helped produce, like this is some of his best that he's done that's connected back to that series. But it kind of like is also like, all right, well, Mando had to suffer a bit so this series can get its legs and get going. Does that mean in like 2 or 3 seasons this show's going to suffer so the next show gets legs to get going? I have very mixed feelings about my thoughts about the show. I think it was overall very good. Some really cool Jedi stuff happened, but I don't know. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing the same characters from those shows over and over and over again, and basically like Disney trying to be like, don't worry about those sequel trilogies. Let's focus on this stuff and act like that's the big Star Wars thing.
Is that not the most Star Wars thing to ignore shit? Apparently, that's like
true. You're not wrong.
modus operandi. It seems like the fatigue has finally caught up to Joe.
But a little bit, yeah. It's like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every episode I watched. It's really hard to like stay engaged with the show and feel the tension that's being built up when I already know, like, well, fucking in 10 years in timeline with Star Wars, the Empire comes back anyways, and then we have this whole trilogy again. So like, I don't really feel like this is a threat that's happening right now. Like, it just doesn't feel like there's no weight to it, basically, and that's kind of like where I'm at with this like small section of the timeline here. It's just like, who cares? Thrawn comes back, great. He's gonna get his ass kicked, and then some asshole on the planet as a zombie is gonna come back to life and make another empire. It's just too cyclical. And I'm being very cynical about it, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, do something that like is either small scale, small stories, or do something that's more like Andor apparently, that like is actually like a premise of like, let's talk about political like being oppressed and having to revolt in a way that you sometimes have to resort to violence, like be a premise of the show in place in Star Wars. Whereas like this, it just doesn't feel like there's any weight to the show going past it. But I enjoyed it a lot, as much as I shit on it. And season 2 I'll watch, and Dave Filoni is making his own Star Wars movie, which will probably be called Heir to the Empire. And we'll see how that goes.
Spoken like a true Star Wars fan.
Star Wars fan, yeah. Fortunate.
All right, Joe, I'll let you popcorn the next person.
Bradley.
Good, cause I have started playing, and I still don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if it's Live Alive. I don't know if it's Live Alive. I don't know if it's Live Alive.
I think I've heard Live Alive.
Whatever it is, I've been playing it.
Live Alive is what I've heard.
Yeah, it's the because here's the thing, for people who don't know, it was a JRPG that came out in 1994, which got an HD remake this past year. And it, like I can't remember. I think it's by the same division that did like the graphics for Octopath and Triangle Strategy and all that, like the HD 2D style.
The game,
which is it's a very good fit for this game. And obviously, I think I only ever played like the demos for Octopath and Triangle Strategy. But even the demo of this game, holy shit! I feel like they were doing so much more with this style, with like cinematic camera angles and the cutscenes. It was really, really cool. And this is just so this game is directed by, and I don't know if this is even how you pronounce it, Takashi Tokita, who was the director for Chrono Trigger, which I also love.
Yes.
And the person who composed the soundtrack is Yoko Shimomura, a legend. Composed the soundtrack for Street Fighter 2, Super Mario RPG, Kingdom Hearts, Mario and Luigi series,
multiple Final Fantasy, like the GOAT. Like Yoko Shimomura is
absolutely the fucking GOAT.
Like,
and dude,
unironically top one.
Yeah, and this game has some fucking bangers. The first time I heard the music for like the chapter end boss, like I paused the boss fight and I went on YouTube so I could just listen to it again later.
Bradley was throwing it back. You already know.
I really was. Currently, I'm going to do like a full talk on this later. Right now, I'm a little over halfway through the game. I've beaten 4 out of the 7 scenarios. And each of the scenarios are in a different time period, which the director who went on to direct Chrono Trigger said it was always a dream of his to create a story that took place in different time periods. So
cool.
I don't know if this
Chrono Trigger
was
his
proto...
sloppy seconds.
This was like his proto Trigger. This was like the pre-Chrono Trigger, but man, it's really fascinating. Each of these number one, the combat style isn't like pure JRPG. It's also kind of similar to Chrono Trigger, where it's a JRPG, but he went with kind of a area-based system. It's grid-based, kind of like Battle Network plays.
Ooh.
And you really have to use it. I will say, some of the different time period scenarios you play at are more heavy on the story and less easy on the combat. Like the combat's pretty easy. And then some of them, the story's pretty fucking simple, but then they had boss battles that I was like, holy fucking shit, you have to like use this grid to its full potential.
That's awesome.
And I gotta say, I'm very impressed so far. I'm ready to see how the game all like wraps up in a big bow at the end, because going into this, I'm hoping for like a big story that like ties all these scenarios together, which there's like hints of that so far, but I'm ready to see what he does. It's this is one of those games where like I saw the trailer for it and I was like, I'm just gonna get it, even though I don't know anything about it. Like, I know this is something I would like, and so far I have not been disappointed.
I'm glad. It's good to take those leaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing the full take, because one day, hopefully, I can play this. It's just
Yes.
There's a lot. It's cool to see that
There's a lot of
just the old design holds up. It's just like they got it right even in the 90s, which is what Chrono Trigger did as well. Like, it was perfectly made even back then, and it's only been slightly improved with re-releases, and it seems like Live Alive is the same way.
Yeah. I'll say this one really benefits from the graphics update.
Nice. And then we can only popcorn a Tyler now. So your choice has been made, Bradley.
I said I watched one episode of Castlevania Nocturne and wasn't liking it, and Joe said that's telling.
Did you watch a second episode?
No, I didn't want to.
So that's the whole story right there, folks.
I don't know. I for the first episode, they're like, "Yo, it's a very Gen Z version of Castlevania."
Yeah.
First of all, which
how
not
so?
bad. Everything is sexy and has to be fuckable. Everything needs to exude sex.
I don't think that's Gen Z. Sex has sold for
Weirdly,
millennia.
yeah.
Okay, so
It's actually the opposite of Gen Z. Stuff is not as sexy anymore. Bring back sexy. Yeah.
you know the game Boyfriend Dungeon?
No.
Yes.
I'm normal.
I feel like the artist of Boyfriend Dungeon was the artist of this. I don't know, like, even the monsters are hot. Like, they're just like, the monsters have shredded six packs and shit. And they're not like gory and bloody.
They're not monstrous.
There's some weird frame rate thing where like
Yeah, the first one did too.
Yeah.
Where some of the animation is choppy.
No, not choppy. Not the choppy stuff. It's like 120 parallaxing, moving the characters across a still background.
Huh.
Yeah, it was weird. And the story just like I didn't care from the first episode. I also hated the like I'm sure the voice acting talent is amazing, but it was not for me.
Here's the thing. Did you like the first show? Because I have all those complaints about the first show. Like, I didn't even for a second consider checking this out because Castlevania lost its steam for me. Like, so I didn't even watch seasons 4. I might have watched 3. It was bad.
I thought there was only 3.
I thought Castlevania, the entire first one, was great.
Yeah, I think I awoke to what you awoke back then. I just don't think those aren't Castlevania games. They're just using the names and sometimes the music. They really don't give a shit. They're just trying to tell like a weird, sexy vampire story.
Well,
it's so mature, and they're doing the Devil May Cry show, and I'm not interested at all because like these guys like they want to make mature. This isn't for kids kind of cartoons. It's like it's just they're gonna say fuck all the time. They're gonna like it just trying to be so edgy and serious and quippy, and the voice acting was always like not good. Yeah, I'm just not into it personally.
I think the problem. I like the first 3 seasons of Castlevania, but the 4th season I think really kind of like fell on its face. Like it just
the one where they're in the village the whole time.
That's 3.
No, that one that is 3. That one I liked. That one was fine.
I did too.
I just didn't like 4 because it was trying to do all these different plot lines, but they never actually like came together in a meaningful way.
So same, like, and I think they're carrying that 4th part, like logic, into this one, where they're trying to build up a bunch of shit in the very first episode and then nothing happens, and I'm like, okay. The showrunner's not as like I like was like very upset. I was like, man, I really wanted to like this. I was looking forward to it. Like, I like Richter a lot, you know. I hate this Richter character from the first episode. He's like a 17-year-old pompous douchebag who saw his own mom die in front of him and then somehow became like that. Just weird vibes.
Neat.
Yeah. I like the showrunner of the first one was like a 30 like year veteran and like writing comics and stuff. And just like all around has a lot of experience with animated works and like action and like comic drama, and it's not always the best, but he just had a lot of experience. The showrunner for the second part is like a guy who's never done anything.
Probably worked on
notable.
the first season.
Nope, wasn't. I looked at the credits. Complete new guy. So I think what they're doing is, I think what their intent was is they didn't bring back the guy who did a good job. So they're intentionally going to make this season controversial and tank it so that they don't generate enough stats to renew it for a second season.
You're
Tyler.
fucking insane, and animators will suck a dick to get another season of a show.
No, I'm not talking.
Off the cocaine.
I'm not, Willer. I'm not saying the animators did it. I'm saying Netflix did it.
But Tyler, they already renewed the show for a second season.
Cool, but everything gets 2 seasons and then gets canceled at Netflix, except Big Mouth for some reason.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Big Mouth is like on season 7.
I watched all 6 seasons. That I'll admit that's fucked up.
There's limits. No, you're crazy. You're doing your Tyler crazy talk right now. Netflix is dying for hits. Like,
it's cheaper for Netflix to make 2 good hits to be canceled than to make 4 good hits.
They wouldn't have greenlit this show. They got 4 seasons out of Castlevania 1. Like your logic makes no sense. They're trying to make another big hitter, and they just maybe the creative director was not. He didn't want to work on that, or he's working on Devil May Cry or something. But yeah, you're capping, bro.
Capping as in I put my thinking cap on. You're absolutely correct.
Anyways, talk about the other topic.
Yeah, when's the last time you put your thinking cap on, buddy?
I lost it. It's somewhere in the house, but I haven't found it.
I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen like 1 episode every 2 or 3 weeks.
Dude, I hear the new season slaps so hard.
I'm almost done with Hidden Inventory, and it's amazing.
Oh, and Hidden Inventory is so good. Oh my god,
it's been so good. So here's the cool thing about it, is it's just as jumpy and like as the manga was, where you're like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, I thought they would slow down, but apparently they're like, nope.
They kept the jumpiness and like jumpiness and shit, but it makes sense now.
It works. Like, it works in Hidden Inventory.
It works in animated.
I hope that they flesh out the ending of Shibuya, like that last chapter that we were just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I hope they flesh that out a little bit more. But I know they're not there yet. They just did the Itadori Blood Brother bathroom fight, which I remember being really cool.
Oh yeah, so that's why I'm taking it really slow. I'm like expecting a Shibuya arc part 3.
It's not happening. You're so like, who hurts you? And I know the answer is Attack on Titan. You could get over her. She's no good for you.
So yeah, that's good. And then what else do I got?
You were gonna talk about Log Horizon.
Man, I started rewatching Log Horizon because they had a 3rd season that came out. I think like post-pandemic.
Oh. Which
was wild. Yeah, like out of nowhere. Like 7 years later, post-pandemic. Season update for Log Horizon or something. Man, it's a little outdated in terms of like anime tropes, like very very weird, like right after the writer's strike anime tropes, like the voice actors and English voice actors weren't back in it yet. Anyway, that show still holds up really well in terms of like the thing they're trying to establish, which is like, how do people live? Like, how does an entire country, like small country, live in an isekai without any rules or like overlording gods, and like everybody is on the same footing of like, oh, everybody's invincible, but you can like buy cities now and like establish government rules, and how do we all work together and everything.
I think I watched an episode or two of that. I was told this is one of the good ones, quote unquote.
So, for example, there's an arc at the very beginning where, like, there's a game mechanic where they have beginner potions, and the beginner potions give you like 2 times EXP for like an hour or something, and like more gold, but you have to be under level 30 in order to get one. Well, what ends up happening is this guild in the city, like in guild halls, you can trap people, like you can decide who uses what doors. So like you can have private storage rooms and private bedrooms and stuff. Well, the guild locked the main entrance door, so like they got a bunch of under level 30s and then trapped them in their guild hall so that they could farm the under level 30 people for their beginner potions. And like that's the entire plot point. And I like that logistics of like, oh, they kidnapped people, and that's a worse crime than death in this universe.
Because you can't really kill them. That's cool.
Yeah.
It seems like an interesting using of the world mechanics.
It is, but don't forget there's also like cringe anime moments, because every anime has its tropes for a casual isekai. But I find it interesting, to say the least, where like the max level characters are like trying to solve all the politics and interacting with the NPCs who are now real humans in the world, and all the people who aren't max level are like just trying to actually learn the game still so they can level up and survive and do like just live a semi-normal life. Like one of the main young characters is a brother and a sister, and the sister was his caretaker because the kid was paralyzed below the waist, and the kid who was paralyzed wanted to play the game and the sister didn't, and then they ended up both getting trapped. So like now he's really happy and she's like really distressed, but like they're finding ways to cope together because like now he has legs again. Very Spy Kids 3 moment right there for Bradley.
Classic.
But yeah, I'm trying to make my way through it again so I can
watch season 3.
Yeah, watch season 3, and then I might pick up the mangas to finish that. Nice. And then I've been trying to make my way through Rogue Legacy 2 again.
Oh, dude,
interesting.
You have harsh words for that game, as I recall.
So the game is fully out now. I don't know if I'll beat it like all the way through.
I will answer that.
Just,
I can answer that for you.
It really is just a remake of the first one, which is why like I'm feeling a little iffy about it. Plus, like the second boss I fought was just like a really large up version of like a elite enemy, and I was like, I felt icky about it. Yeah. So I also booted up Bravely Default 2. I told Willer about this.
I'm familiar with your game.
I booted up Bravely Default 2 while I was on vacation a couple weeks ago. Just holy shit. Does that game have so many UX flaws that just... Comparing that to Octopath 2 is just a blessing in terms of a more traditional JR turn-based RPG.
Yeah, Octopath is like, a clean experience for sure.
It is so clean, and just looking at Bravely Default again, it's so clunky. It's like Octopath did such a nice evolution.
Octopath was this year?
No. It was like 2 years ago.
No, Octopath 2?
Yeah. Oh, Octopath 2, I think was
this year? Oh my god.
Yes, February.
This year is stupid.
This
is too much.
Yeah.
So, I played 30 minutes of Bravely Default 2, got frustrated with combat, and was like, this combat system sucks now. what I found so endearing has just been nulled by Octopath with Simplicity, and like
Fucking
it has
rip.
some, it has some unique gimmicks still, but just after that I played Octopath for like an hour and a half, and I beat chapter 3 of the thief boss.
Is that the one where you fight
That's
the
the one
dad?
that's where you kill Daddy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Daddy.
Do you want to roll into the other RPG you played as a result? Because we could just move that up the list since it.
No. I mean, it's up
we're,
to you.
We're on official talks now, so let's do it.
All right, yeah. So I've also been wanting to research a couple more RPGs as I've been trying to branch out and try some games. I'm on game designer mentality now, where it's like I know I'm not gonna beat any games anymore, but I need to play at least 30 to 40%.
You know, it's crazy. No, that is how game designers work. They all have like the bug. like,
dude, I just want to get the gist of the game. You know, like, all right, I get it.
Man, what happened to journeys before destinations? You motherfuckers, just trying to get gists out here. But yeah,
I am getting the journey a lot of the time.
I don't know why he did this. I was like, bitch, you're gonna get nothing out of this. But Tyler downloaded Disgaea 7, which I wasn't sure if I was gonna get the game, but I pulled the trigger anyways on release, and I'm glad I did. I can very confidently say this is one of the good ones for me. Not top, but it's top 3 out of the ones I've played.
Yeah, so I did pick up Disgaea 7. I picked up the demo first, and I was like, all right, let's, do the story mode. Like, that's how it starts. It's gonna probably take me through a story mode. And upon doing, like, the first chapter, I immediately thought Wheeler never gets to give, like, he is not allowed to give me any more shit.
Oh, no, I am.
About anime that
I
watch.
so am.
If this is, like, one of his favorite RPG games of all time.
When have I ever said that I like Disgaea for the plot? I have never.
It doesn't matter. You still sit there and play it.
Because
You're still posting pictures of the plot happening.
those are the in between chapter skits, and they're so fucking funny. I'm sorry, but the kaiji one had me genuinely laughing. That's good shit. Look, you're not supposed to take the plot seriously. I certainly don't. This is actually probably my least favorite plot among them. Which is a low bar. there's one decent Disgaea plot, and it's Disgaea 4. The characters can be charming because they got like I like their designs a lot. I will give them that, and they have charming like little gimmicks. But man, they cannot like carry a like 20-hour plot. Those motherfuckers are just there to be funny. This game though, they're a little like. It takes like 8 chapters for anything to happen. I'm like on chapter 11, and the plot is like taking itself seriously now. It's like y'all took too long. I've been tapped out for a while, but it's funny. The Pirulika makes me laugh very very hard. She's a good dumbass. Sometimes you need those. But who's here to talk about this guy for the plot? You weirdo. You would care. You would care because you care about those dumb isekai plots.
I'm just saying, like, that's part of the game you have to go through, dog. It's a part of the game. It's a part of the experience.
Who plays Pokemon for the plot? You know, it's that vibe.
Raise his hand again.
My arms are up, but it's because I'm stretching. You can't see me. That's weird.
Yeah,
well, I like the plot of Gen 9. That was a good plot. I'll give him that.
I found a good way to describe this last time we were discussing about it, and I feel like it's pretty accurate, is to describe it as a tactical RPG sandbox.
Yes.
Where the developers literally give you every tool and mechanic you could conceive of in a like turn-based strategy game, and you can just try to do whatever you want with it and figure shit out. And it's very open-ended to give yourself your own challenges. And the way you were describing the cheat system really does make it seem like really kind of enforces that sandbox mentality.
Yeah, I feel like you're overthinking the game a little bit even.
Mm-hmm.
Which I may be. I was thinking it was going to be a different experience. I jumped in for the class and like weapon and skill scaling.
Yeah.
and I think that's still what I'm here for. But I know that's not what entirely the game is about.
It sort of is. Like, the way that Disgaea works is there's like a billion mechanics, and you need to, like, you set up little mini projects, is how I describe it. It's like, today, like, my focus is going to be doing this, and what's the best way to do this? Well, I have to interact with these 5 systems to do this in an efficient way. But also, it's like Pokemon, where Pokemon has a bazillion mechanics too, but you only need to for them for either like the hard like battle factory kind of stuff, like battle tower, or online play. In Disgaea, they actually give you really hard challenges for the post game. So until that point, the point is you kind of experiment and play however you want, and just get a little bit familiar with the systems. Because then when you hit that point where it's like, oh, I need to have knowledge about everything, I've at least been introduced to everything, let me now do the research into like how I should actually be using these mechanics to officially get past like the hard maps and the hard bosses. All that to say, that's what I'm saying, like, you might be overthinking the main story, especially for you as a first time experience. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be exploring, not doing stuff great, like just kind of like, if you want to just throw on like one overpowered unit, you can. If you want to level a big squad, you can. You just kind of vibe through the main story.
Yeah, I think I'm having a lot of fun leveling up the classes. That's usually what I like derive out of enjoy. Like, that's usually my enjoyment that I get out of RPGs and strategy games, is like, I want to level up this one class and see how crazy it gets.
This one does have the most, like, one of the most classes. I think it's only below 5, and 5 is my favorite Disgaea game because it is like the ultimate game. Like, not even just strategy game. Like, no game has as much game in it as Disgaea 5. It's kind of insane. But this has like maybe just below that, if not more, classes and monsters and stuff. And like, they are also some of the most unique they've ever been, because they all get like different innate abilities. They all get like different unique skills now that like they've balanced out the skills really well, because the big draw to this one is that you can do like auto battler ranked matches. And as a result, I think it forced them to kind of balance out the classes and the skills a little better than they usually would, which I never mind that they were disbalanced before, because you can make anything strong in Disgaea. But now it's just nice, like, as you're going through the journey, it's like, well, this character learns these spells innately and can do these status ailments, but this one has like really good ranges and movement and throw ranges and stuff like that. So it does make them off the gate like stand out from each other in a way that I really like in this one.
So you were curious about some of the UX things that I don't really like. The game, even with its tutorials, doesn't really tell you much.
Like, I forgot how to do a thing, and I read through the notes. It's like, well, these didn't help.
Yeah, I tried to read extensively through a lot of the notes about several mechanics, and it's like, when you do it once, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the game doesn't set anything up for it to be that simple, which is good and bad. So it's good in the sense that it respects its core audience's time. For people who have played Disgaea 5 and 6, who are like, okay, yeah, cool, great, good reminder.
Yeah.
But bad for anybody else who wants to get into the series. I tried looking up stats and like what each one really does. Like, I was like, what does speed do in this game where movement is defined by my boots?
Speed is your dodge chance, but also, I don't know if you've noticed, each weapon scales off in skill. Like, as you pull up a skill, it tells you what it scales off. So, like, for example, fists and gun use speed in their scaling, and then some of the unique skills will use speed in their scaling. Some attacks use resistance in their scaling. So it's pretty varied that way. You just kind of have to know where to look when you're doing that.
I like the little models of all the characters. They're cute, simple, efficient.
I do want to touch on this, right? Because when I talked about Disgaea 6, I don't know if y'all remember, but I was really disappointed with Disgaea 6. And a big part of it was that they changed to the 3D models over the gorgeous sprite art of 4 and 5. And the attack animation suffered a lot because of it, because they didn't have the same oomph. Like, they had gotten to a point where they were nailing the attack animations with both creativity and like pacing and stuff like that. Those days are a little bit gone in a way, but they have gotten way better since 6. So I'm very hopeful that like 8 and 9, because I do think it's a smart decision to do the models because they can reuse a lot of the animations a lot easier. Sprite art is hard to do, right? So I think by Disgaea 9 or 10, we'll get like really snap animations. But I've seen some that I really like. Like they are using the 3D to their advantage. Like there's one where you're like dickbag magician in the crew who's just like a party boy. He does like a little DJ session, and like the characters that you targeted are in the crowd dancing with him along with some of the penguin pretties. Like that's cute because like they cut to different angles and like they cut to him like doing the DJ thing with his hands. Like that stuff you wouldn't be able to do with the sprites. So they're getting like this is a huge improvement on 6 in that front.
I really liked 3DS graphics. I think that's why I enjoy these so much.
They give off those vibes, yeah.
Yeah, like they're working with the limitations of what they have, and 3DS is about the best that the Switch can perform. Let's be honest.
Come on now, man. You're so mean.
I mean, even with that, I will admit, whenever I try to use like the buff skill, like my Switch is struggling with those 3DS.
Dude, graphics. At least this game you can run graphics mode without it running at 15 frames. You cannot do that in 6. Like that was another big. I regretted getting 6 on my Switch so bad, which is why I own this game on the Steam Deck because I didn't want to risk it this time.
There's only one skill that fucks up, and it's literally like the Brave skill that increases your attack. That's the only one that has.
That's such a weird one to fuck up. I mean, you haven't gotten to the big skills that like have huge ranges or the maps that have like 50 units, so we'll see how it does there.
So, another thing is like, it was really a negative until it wasn't. I got to the 10th floor or the 9th floor
of an item. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't like how they used the same enemy like models as class models. Because I get a little confused. I'm like, is that my fighter right there or the other fighter? Like,
I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Someone used a movement skill and now they teleported and I don't know where they're at now.
They have different health bar colors. That's how but you can also press R2 for your units and L2 for their units.
Like, I still have to cycle through that. Like, it would be nice to just pull up a list and I can be hey, what is...
You press you press X, I think it would be for you, whatever your top button is.
Yeah, there's a list. Or you bring up the start menu.
Yeah, the start menu.
And it has a list. Okay.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Yeah, how did it become a positive?
I'll tell you. So I got to an encounter where it had like some big buff-ass demon units. And I was like, yo, do I unlock those units?
You do.
That's pretty cool. Like, I want to unlock that unit. That looks really cool.
Was it the Skeleton Knight? Because that guy fucking rules.
No, it was his name was like Lazy on Sundays or something.
The character names are randomly generated. But...
Oh, by the way, I try to make my characters as stupid as possible.
Do you use the stupid voices? Because I really like them.
Yeah, I have a ninja who sounds like a country hick, and his name is Pass the Rice.
That's a randomized name. Like Tyler was not being weird.
Like, was not being racist.
But also,
pretty good, though.
there used to be ninjas that would just speak in Naruto terms. I really miss that voice.
Yes, I do.
I think that's fun.
That's one. I found that voice line in this one.
Okay, good.
Ooh.
After you told me we got the rogue and like stealing becomes good, I made one of those. So I have a level 27 rogue named Wambulance who just whines the whole time.
Did you unlock the skill called Grand Theft Auto?
Not yet.
That skill will do a low % steal on every unit on the map, regardless of range, which is really good because if you take your items away from people, even if you only hit a few of them, people just fold without their items. Like that's most of being strong. This guy is having good items. So I like using that one a lot.
So I'm gonna go through a couple of my other names. So Syntax Error, the Prinny was like one of my first ones. And I thought that was funny. And then I was like, yo, I'm gonna make Cole the zombie. And he sounds like a little nerd when he talks.
Dude, in 6, one thing they did right, because one of the main characters was voiced by ProZD, the zombies had a voice pack that was called like tired influencer, and it was just ProZD doing the laziest line reads for the zombie.
I think he's in this one too, because
He's
there's
not.
this signpost monster that when I kill it, it goes, "Ah, I died."
They go boko boko. I know the guys, yeah.
So then we're moving on. I've got a red mage called the Grand Tour,
Ooh.
which is suggestive because it's this little lolly child.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
I've got a Mothman called Jabroni.
Oh, I love the moth. Dude,
These
I knew you
these
would
are
like the Moth Boys. I just wanted to say that. I knew that would be your vibe.
some good Moth boys. And then I've got a Nikomata called Flip Phone User.
Oh, I have Flip Phone User in my squad. I have to use that.
Pass the Rice is still like my funny, like my favorite, most offensive name generated.
Did you see? They have like straight up the Shikamaru Shadow Jutsu as one of their attacks for the ninjas.
Nope, haven't got to that yet.
The references are really good.
Yeah.
Oh man, this one has less weapon skills than 5. 5 had like each weapon you would get like 8 skills, which was a lot. But they have a lot more unique skills, which I think is nice to make.
It's
up for it.
slowly becoming like a like a Bobobo type experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're getting there. You're getting to the right vibe where it's like this is supposed to be stupid fun.
I will say though, and this is a weird reference, I like everything this game has to offer in terms of scale, but I enjoyed playing Rabbids more than this game because Rabbids UX is just a lot smoother of a strategy experience.
And also, it's the best strategy game ever made.
You guys hate that game.
No, I'm not a big fan of it.
I hated what I saw in the game and how simple it. Like that game is for babies.
This
Yeah.
game is for babies.
That was
But
the most famous
baby
line.
game is very easy to control.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like once you understand where stuff is and what stuff does, but
Dude, I gotta click through like 4 different menus to and like I gotta do like 7 different
my God,
clicks
I
to
can't
move one
wait
unit
till you-
and, like attack.
yeah, the execute system's pretty different from like a Final Fantasy Tactics where you just move
Yeah.
and attack.
But
But it lets you
but
set
it's
up
important.
combos, and the
Yeah.
more combos you do in one execute, the higher the damage you do.
I get it, but come on, somebody at that studio's got to be saying we can do better.
Okay, fun fact, you can press what will be plus for you to just execute. You don't have to press the extra menu. You move the guys and you press plus.
yeah.
Oh,
So-
dude, I press plus accidentally so many times, and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh well, there's.
Do you know that
Yeah.
you can hold square and then press L2 to automatically lift and throw?
Willard, you think that I know how to do hotkeys in this UX-less
There's-
game?
A lot of hotkeys. Actually, they are.
Yeah.
There is a legend for them if you know where to look.
It scrolls across the bottom like a ticker feed.
It took me until
Yeah.
chapter 3 to figure out what it happens if you place 2 characters on the same tile and it picks up the other one.
Did you know if you throw something on a monster, they will toss it without using their turn? For example, like
Yeah.
if you set up a
Prison.
monster and toss something at the monster will auto throw them and not use like their turn throwing, so you can still do stuff with the monster.
Okay, so that was definitely described in the tutorial, but I had no clue what the fuck they were trying
Like,
to tell
why
me.
the fuck am I throwing dudes? Tyler said a line that I love. He unlocked a mechanic that's in every Disgaea game where you have to pass bills with senators to unlock new game mechanics. And he's like, why the fuck am I doing the parliament in my RPG game? And I was like, oh, it's everything I could ever hope for. I can't wait.
It's a sumo wrestling tournament in this one.
I can't wait
yeah.
for Tyler to unlock the AI manipulation system and for him to just be so mad.
That part is so
That's
cool.
so honestly, that is the only reason I'm still trucking. And we talked last night. I'm like, Willard, what other mechanics do I need to know about this game?
Well, the
Because
thing
they're
is,
all really cool, but holy fuck, you're just like
I don't know all the
absolute
mechanics.
It's absolutely respectful of a studio to just keep carrying all their mechanics in from each game.
So that has been. I mean, they had to trim down for 6. We're getting back up to 5. 5 would melt your brain. That has been though their modus operandi since since the first game. They like the tagline was like a game that will kick other strategy RPGs in the ass. Like that's what they've always gone for. Bradley, I know you were curious about the ranked mode, and I have done some of the ranked mode. I'm just scratching the surface. This thing has legs. I fucking love it. What's nice is every week is a season. So the first week, it was just like, okay, just throw out your units. And, you know, I think everyone was just throwing out their strongest units and letting them fight it out with very little, like, logic. The second week, they were like, okay, but this week you can only use the boys. So it's like, oh shit, I have so many good girl characters. I have to, like, change my squad around. And
I know my team would be worthless.
Exactly, you would be dead on arrival. Which is why weirdly enough, some people that week had teams of 1 to 3 people. I was like, huh, suspicious that, like, you only have literally 3 boy units. So that was interesting, but that's also when I started, okay, let's play around with the, like, AI a little bit. So I'm doing stuff that my enemies aren't. For example, none of them are using, there's, like, a mechanic where you can turn your characters into giant kaiju, and they give, like, an effect to everyone on the map. So I was using the giant kaiju that raises the strength of male units to kind of synergize with the male team. No one's even using that mechanic around my elo, which is nice. I'm, like, outplaying them by being creative with, like, the AI. No one knows how to make people do support units, but I do. That's, like, my secret tactic is, like, people haven't figured out how to make supporters with the AI, and I see so many posts about it on Reddit. And I was like, I'm gonna keep this as a house secret for now, because I need the upper edge. Like, I have no illusions that I'm gonna be top 10 in the ladder or anything, but the way it works is, like, every time you win or lose, you gain, like, rank points, and then, like, it just pops up people near your, like, a list of 3 people near your rank, and then, like, you try to find the one that's closest to your level, and then you kind of fight it out. So when you're doing, like, even matches where you're kind of close in power level, because they show you, like, a number of what your team's overall power level is, that's when, like, everyone's different little strategies and how they equip people with different abilities really starts to shine. And that's, like, where the game really starts to shine, because, like, that's, like, their big new mechanic, I feel. So that's been fun. Is that all you got on Disgaea, Tyler?
Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's an experience.
You heard it here first, folks. It's fine, but on my end, I really like it. I think Joe would like this game, but just go back and play more 5.
I played the demo, and when I played the demo, I, like, just got off of flight that was at, like, 5 a.m. and then I literally worked all day, and I was like, I'll play some Disgaea, and my brain just, it couldn't think back to, like, I played Disgaea 5. How do I do this again? Yeah. So, like, but, like, I remember, like, finally, like, in Disgaea 5, like, I started playing it when, like, the freeze happened in Texas.
That's a perfect time for that.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll try this game that I bought, like, months ago and see if I can crack it. And something finally clicked. I was like, oh, okay, I understand. Like, I think, well, also I fucked up was that, like, in Disgaea 5, they give you a bunch of, like, bonus missions.
Yeah, for the DLC.
To go back on Tyler's shit UI, I didn't realize that those bonus missions were not story missions, and I kept doing them. I was like, why isn't anything, like, progressing?
Yeah, because those are scaled to your highest level, so they're actually kind of hard.
Yeah, and I was just like, it's scaled to my levels, so I should be able to do this, right? Or this is what I should be doing next. It's like, yes and no. Like,
you got. Okay, we're gonna end there. Let's take a quick break as well.
Okay.
Joe, you watched a couple movies, and I watched some of these movies too. So, what are your thoughts? You've been a movie boy lately.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's the cheaper thing for me to do compared to games right now. Let's start with 7. Have you seen 7, Willer?
I have.
Okay.
I don't know if Bradley stepped away. Bradley, have you seen 7? He is in the bathroom. Go on.
Bradley's so fucking dead. So I have also seen 7, and we had another movie day with our friends that I went over and we watched 7 because we were going to watch Pan's Labyrinth, but the download of Pan's Labyrinth has some sort of corruption to it for some reason.
Sick.
Like, everything was pink. Everyone's skin color was pink, and the whole background was pink. It was very interesting. But anyways, we got 7, and I had seen 7 before, and it had been years since I had seen it. I don't think this is a good detective movie.
Okay, thank you. I don't like 7 that much.
Okay, Good, because I remember thinking like I remember watching 7 and like people were like, oh, it's so crazy and like it's like whatever, but like watching it again, I was just like, you could have timed this down to like I think an hour and a half. It's a 2-hour movie, and
Jeez.
and have a little bit more personal conversation between Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt about their ideologies and like, and I think also like the killer, like I kind of get with the killer, like he's a psychopath, so he's not really supposed to have like a very much like understandable motive, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a good movie, I think. And I
No,
think
for sure, for sure.
yeah, and I think the usage of the 7 deadly sins is also like just a gimmick. It's not like even him like doing it doesn't really make any sense, right?
It seemed like flavor. I mean, he was trying to
Yeah.
expose people, as I recall, was trying to expose like the bad in these people. So in that sense,
But he really wasn't, because like I guess it's all like perspective, I guess. Like the only like one person I can get by is like, he killed the greedy lawyer, he's the greed, and he was greedy, so he should be punished for his greed, kind of a thing. But then like he kills just a random guy because he's fat, he kills a prostitute because she's a prostitute. There's nothing like,
he had to fill out the kill roster. So he's like, okay,
yeah.
I need to fill out
He-
sloth and lust.
He kidnaps a drug dealer and ties him to a bed for Sloth. And I also feel like after Sloth, they're like, all right, well maybe we should calm down on how gruesome these things should be, instead of like amping up the tension of like, oh my god, it's getting worse. They just got like more tame, which I think really kind of peters out the thriller aspects of it.
I also I don't really love the editing, and like it feels very jerky.
Yeah.
And, like it's a gross watch, and I think that's why people like it. It's like it's a very gritty movie. It's like that Dragged by
Yeah.
Concrete movie that we didn't like.
Yeah.
eh,
We'll never talk about it. I just
whatever.
it's yeah, and I think the detective aspect of it is like, it's not fun either. It's not fun trying to piece together what's going on. Like there's nothing to really
Yeah.
like be involved in as an audience.
It wasn't a fun case.
Yeah.
Did the others like it?
I think they were kind of mixed on it. They're like, oh yeah, it's whatever. Me and Trevor were laughing at the end because Brad Pitt's like what's in the box? It's so funny to look at now.
It's a classic.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
glad
classic. But,
everyone
like,
knows what's in the box now.
yeah, but but also it's so weak. It doesn't feel like I know Brad Pitt could probably do better, but this is, I think, was maybe earlier in his career. But yeah, I'm glad you agree with me that like I don't like Seven's not a good detective movie. It's just kind of gruesome, and then it decides not to be. But on that note, Talk to Me.
Now that's
Which,
good gruesome.
That is some good gruesome. That is a great horror movie.
I don't know if Tyler's back, but I think he would really like Talk to Me.
I think he would really like Talk to Me too. I think that's the perfect intersection of like what we want from our horror. Like I like the personal drama and like the ethical side of horror,
Yeah.
and like how sometimes like the main character, like, okay, I can understand what would drive this main character to act this way in this movie.
The main
and,
character
like,
is
what
very
they're-
flawed in Talk to Me.
Yes,
but that's like
which is
it draws a lot of the drama because of that in a good way.
yeah. And I think like and so like compared to like Terrifier 2, like just having gore is not scary to me. Just having gore in general isn't scary. It's gruesome, sure, and it's shocking, but like I'm not gonna go to bed and like be like, oh man, all that blood, can't go to sleep tonight. However, I will think about the person sitting in the corner just making noises and it's completely wet. Like that's really creepy.
The gruesomeness in Talk to Me is really good. It's it sticks with you, really fucked up, but like it also builds to those scenes really well. It's a fairly recent horror movie, and I definitely recommend people checking it out.
Yeah, it came out 2022 in Australia, then got a wider release this year. And I think also like the pacing's very good. Like it keeps going up. It doesn't stall. Like we watched Smile, and Smile was just like, okay, like,
oh, this is.
Are we escalating or are we not escalating?
They can't be in the same convo. Like we were at a point where like we took a movie break, like we took a little bathroom break, and everyone looked around and was like, "Yo, this is really engaging, right?" Like we were all like very hooked by that movie.
Yeah, yeah. But I think great movie, a crisp hour and a half, where it's what I want, right, for those kind of types of movies.
Yeah,
Very low
crisp.
budget, super good. And then we watched Shape of Water.
Which has been on my to watch list for fucking ever.
It's also been on mine. I thought Shape of Water was good.
It was
I
solid.
don't think it was mind blowing. It was
Yeah.
solid. I think it was excellently like directed. It looked great.
I guess I had a little bit higher hopes because I've seen it praised so
Same.
much. So
Same.
I did get a little disappointed in that, and like my expectations were like a little, because I think what it was that
Inflated.
the romance was very quick to start in this.
Yes.
And I
yeah.
totally understand where it comes from. Maybe the woman's side. It's the feelings would be a little more complex for the fishman. If no one knows the premise of this movie, it's where does this take place? I forgot.
1950s. It takes place
In 1950s America in
and
Boston?
it's like an ambiguous seaside town.
I
It
do
doesn't
like
really-
the time period, like both location and also time period. I think it's called I can never say it, anachronism, whatever. It's hard to tell like when exactly it's taking place and where it is, but like in a really good way. The sets were great.
Yeah, it gave me like we were watching this like we were watching BioShock right now, like very strong like.
Dude, Guillermo
BioShock
could make a badass BioShock movie.
I think so too.
But yeah, like it was good though. It just wasn't what I expected, and I do think they rushed like something that would have elevated the movie to great.
Yeah, I think one thing is like controversial take, but like you could also potentially like take an angle where like the human is like potentially like very much in the Calypso situation of potentially like raping this fish almost and like keeping it hostage. Like it's a weird dynamic.
It could have been a dark story, it's true, but like I also don't mind that it does have the kind of ending it did have.
The ambiguous kind of.
It had a good ambiguous ending. I thought.
I did too. I thought Michael Shannon was also very good. He plays like the main like antagonist. Yeah. I mean overall like the main character, Sally Hawkins. She that's the actress's name. I think she did great. She is a mute woman.
Yeah.
So she does not speak the entire movie. So she is doing sign language and body language the entire time, which is very good.
She's fantastic. So I meant to mention it. So is the main actress in Talk to Me. Like they
yes,
really good.
Yes. Also, fun story. The guy who plays the fishman plays Abe Sapien, who is also a fishman in Hellboy, and I just think that's really funny.
One thing led to another.
Yeah, this guy's getting typecasted as fish people.
You hate to see it. Same.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen to the Arlong actor. Shame.
This one, Best Picture. That's crazy to me.
That's interesting. Damn.
Yeah,
really?
it's interesting.
It's not quite there for me, like compared to other Best Pictures I've seen. Now I'm gonna watch Moonlight after all this time of being hyped for it and be disappointed. I'm afraid.
Have you seen La La Land?
Oh, I love La La Land. I know it's a bitch basic taste. I think La La Land haters don't have joy and have never dreamed in their lives.
I agree. I think La La Land had like a very bittersweet ending to it.
I love it's such a good fucking ending. It's
that final shot of them looking, it's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to figure out what else. When did this movie came out? It came out in 2017. So what did it go up against in 2017? Because I'm very curious. Okay, Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Well, that's my pick. 3 Billboards is a top 5 movie, and I also like Call Me by Your Name more. And there was another Get Out. I mean, Get Out is also like in my top movies. So
yeah,
damn.
I have not seen Dunkirk, but I hear good things.
Yeah,
I think
that's on the list to watch. But that's a good movie block. Nice, concise.
Yes. Yeah, but those are, with the exception of 7. So I guess Talk to Me and Shape of Water are still, I think, good movies and recommended to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I do recommend them. I think Bradley might like Shape of Water.
Yeah.
It's got like a weird.
I'll say I've always like seen the trailers for it, but I never took the plunge.
I
I didn't even mean for that to be a pun.
little pony bastard. Motherfucker gets married and he's already a dad.
No.
Okay, moving on. I beat Armored Core 6. I'll talk about it fairly quickly here because
And Armored Core is from Soft, right?
It is.
Yes.
So like it's their not Souls series. They have another one called Tenchi or something, but Armored Core
I guess
like
they
the
gotta
most
have
popular one.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, they made 5 of these under all of our noses before they were actually a thing after Demon Souls. So, now Armored Core was fan-fucking-tastic. It's mission-based. You can beat it really quick. Like, I think my total playtime was probably under 20. It's supposed to be replayed because you're basically a mercenary in this planet that has a Dune-esque kind of energy source called the Coral. But what's interesting about the Coral, and I didn't get all the plot, even though this one's told more straightforward to you, I still missed it because I wanted to go burr burr robots shoot, so that's on me. But I did capture a lot of the gist of it. There was a big coral explosion. Your handler was involved into it, and he's coming back to finish the job because coral is a very powerful but volatile substance, and he's trying to erase it. The twist, though, and you get to it pretty early, is that the energy source of coral is like actually living beings. Like the coral is sentient energy, and you kind of fall into a pit in an earlier mission and bond to a coral woman called, I think, Ari, and she's kind of like, she's talking to you and you're talking to her, but your handler doesn't know that that's happening. So like she's kind of taking on missions without his notice. And at least the route that I went to, and there's a lot of alternate endings to this game, was a very compelling, like, are you going to choose your handler versus Ari, like the energy source being that's just trying to save her people? I chose the handler, surprisingly. Granted, I didn't know that the mission I was choosing was like the definitive, like, this is it, like, you're selecting your ending here. So I don't mind it, though, because I really like Handler Walter, and he was a good character, but like, the final boss, I had to kill my buddy that's been like inside my head because she pilots this other mech, and it's such a cool fucking boss. The game is fucking great, y'all. It just feels good to play. Missions are nice and short. Your customization options are so good.
I was about to say, I'm watching some gameplay right now, and the first thing that stuck out to me is the mobility looks really cool.
It looks so good.
Not only is the mobility cool, you have so many different ways to make your mobility options. You can go big and heavy, tanky. Could be your jam, Bradley. You like the heavy, tanky boys. You also get like swords and pile bunkers, so you can really get up there with like really heavy weaponry. Like, you know how in the Souls game you have to balance out your equipment load? This is that taken to the extreme. Every single weapon piece you put on has like 5 different stats you're constantly trying to balance while keeping your equipment and energy loads at a reasonable level compared to what your generator can output. So like, it's a very engaging like customization of like, to keep myself really quick and nimble, I kind of have to give up on some armor, and I might have to equip like arms that are less good at aiming, but they're a little lighter. Stuff like that. It's really engaging because of that. But like, you can be like big and slow, or you can be nice and fast with like quick little dashes. You can also have tank legs that let you move on the ground really fast and do drifting, but it lets you have a very high equipment load. So you can have very heavy weaponry while you have this tank leg. You can also get these tetrapod legs that let you hover. Like, you have a unique hover mode to them where like you can very like stamina efficiently move around the air and shoot down and above on people. I actually went for what I think might be the least popular set of like mobility options, which is like reverse jointed bipedal legs, where they give you really high and fast jumps. So my play style was about like leaping over people and raining down hell on them, and like having very good like I would outmaneuver people by always having the high ground Anakin. So I kind of built myself around it. It was just Like, if it wasn't for this year being fucked up with endless good games, I would have definitely done more playthroughs of this, and I might in the future, because it is just really addicting. There's arena fights that you can get, and, like, they come out, like, you do them really fast. Like, I can't stress how good the pacing is in doing stuff in this game. Like, I would boot it up, play, like, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and just do a bunch of, like, little small missions and, like, arena fights, and it's just a very, very good flow state for this game.
So basically, like, these guys aren't just good at making Soulsborne games. Like, they're just good at making games.
I think they're just good, bro. I think they're just like fantastic at what they do,
So,
and the story is good. Even if I wasn't as immersed into it as I should have been, by the end they got me there.
You know, I was gonna say I wasn't even sure how story focused of a game this was before you started, because I didn't know if this was like a mission focused game, kind of like a Warriors game.
It
but
is mission
I didn't
focused.
know if it had like a good main story. I was like I felt like if I got this game, I would just be pretending I'm playing 13 Sentinels.
Yeah, it definitely gives those vibes. The story is told in very few cutscenes, but it's mostly very nice and concise mission briefings before you go into your mission. And the mission briefing is because your first mission is you drop into the planet, you steal like someone's call sign, you become Raven, so that way you're allowed to take missions from the mercenary corps, that there's like 4 of them in the planet. You can also take missions from the planet's own defense system, like the peacekeepers like are fighting against the mercenaries to protect their resource. And then the other faction is like apparently like a global defense force that like tries to regulate what's going on in different planets. So you're working for these 6 different factions, and you're taking missions from all of them. Like, you're just like a mercenary dog helping out where you can. And the moral dilemmas come to when like you have to make the missions that are going to really cripple one of the sides and change the war, because you're just that guy. Like, you're the important piece that they hire to make like the big swings in history. It's really cool. The mission briefings are very good. The voice acting is phenomenal. Like, you're never stuck in very long, like, there's no long cutscenes. And all the characters are just like call signs and mechs. You never see a human being in this game. They're all just piloting a mech. So it kind of feels like a bunch of people in armor. And like, you just kind of have to get to know the characters through like their dialogue. Very like, you just meet a random dude in Dark Souls, and like his entire personality, like he never animates. He's just in the corner somewhere, and yet he's a fascinating character. Like, that is the vibe.
He just sits in the corner and vibes.
Yeah, like, you're just getting the entire vibe from item descriptions and his dialogue, and that like they're just really good at that minimalist storytelling. Like, I gotta hand it to them. I wasn't sure about this game. I took the leap, and I really think it was a good call.
I really wish I could have played Armored Core. It just came out at a time where like I had no money, still don't have money.
I would have lent you my copy if I did the weird physical gaming thing.
Yeah. But man, it's on my list to play.
It'll be on sale one day, and you'll be able to buy it. And honestly, Bradley, I think you would just have fun kicking ass, and I think you would get into the story too. So if you ever see it on sale, I give you both a rec here.
That's the thing. The whole time you've been talking, I've just kind of been in a trance watching this guy fly around, shoot stuff.
It feels so fucking sick. Great. Yeah.
I had a friend who was hyped for super hyped about this game. He loves mechs. He picked up the game and fucking hated it because he said it was too hard.
I did not mention that. This is a FromSoft game. It is a FromSoft game. Some of those bosses are fucked. But thankfully there's good checkpointing. You get to go at it. I guess that is worth mentioning. Thank you for bringing that up. In a Souls game, you make your build, and you're going to stick with it thick or thin. I'm going to use the big strength, big sword. I'm going to use like a couple of different dex weapons. This game really wants you to experiment, and even like when you die in a boss fight, you can actually go back to the reassemble screen and completely change your mech. And they do, you can brute force it with your build, but they really want you to play around and find the efficient thing for that fight, and I respect that. I know that's not a lot of people's jams. They want to use their greatsword. Not saying you don't. Not saying you have to experiment, but it'll make your life a lot easier if you like go with the flow.
It doesn't punish you for experimenting.
No, in fact, it heavily encourages it. So,
yeah. It's on my short list of games that I want to play and pick up. It's just like Yeah, it's on there.
I'm actually for the first time ever dreading Game of the Year because I don't know what my favorite game is.
Same.
I
I've been
don't.
dreading
I
Game of
can't
the
even
Year
tell
since-
you what my top 5 is anymore. I'm just a
I've
guy
been-
who's vibing.
I've been dreading Game of the Year since I played Resident Evil 4.
Dude, I'm getting there with Resident Evil 4. I was like, God fucking damn it! I didn't think it'd be this good.
It's the same thought I
And
had.
I'm still so early. Yeah.
Oh my god.
God,
Okay, but
shooting guns feels great in that. Okay, let's move on.
yeah, glad to hear
This
that's good.
I'm excited about this. Sex
Oh,
Sex
God.
Education season 4 came out. I've never watched this show. I've only and
Yes.
I don't know if Bradley has either. I've only consumed this show through Joe talking about it every once in a while.
Yeah, I have not,
Yeah.
but I'm ready to hear about it.
But what I
Okay.
have heard is that everyone fucking hates the last season. So Joe,
No way.
Yeah.
I've opened up
So-
the stage for you.
I'm gonna recap the premise of Sex Education. It stars a teenage boy named Otis, who is a child of 2 very renowned sex therapists who are now divorced. So he has grown up in a household that has talked a lot about sex, and he knows a lot about sex, just from like being around his parents all the time. Otis is like very much like a typical nerdy, awkward teenager. Like in the first season of the show, he can't even masturbate correctly. Like he just can't do it.
Damn.
Skill issue.
Yeah,
For
it,
real.
it is a skill issue. And he goes to a very traditional school called Moordale, that is like has very traditional values. It has like a dress code. It's also very run down and it's very old. And he's just constantly surrounded by people who are having sex and just like experimenting, being teenagers basically. He befriends the hot goth punk girl by description, Maeve, and
Oh,
they
so
end
this
up
is a
creating,
Joe show. Okay.
yes. They end up creating this business where they will do sex therapy for the kids at Moordale because they don't have anyone else to talk to about like their lives, because you can't just go talk to your parents like, hey, I'm trying to have sex with my girlfriend for the first time. Like, what should I be doing? It's a very traditional town.
Well, son.
Yeah. So, but like, that's the premise of the show, and there are 3 key things in the show. The first one is Otis. He's a really sweet guy, and he's super awkward, and like he's not really good with women, but in the ironic twist, he understands like what needs to be done to have a healthy sex life and a healthy relationship, which is kind of adds to the comedy there. It's like this, quintessential like nerdy kid who can't get a girlfriend is giving advice to everyone else who is in relationships. Moordale's a very traditional school, and so it creates this environment where like the kids don't want to talk to the adults about like what's going on in their life and why they're stressed all the time or why they're having difficulty in their relationships, because that environment doesn't encourage that type of discussion. And the third thing is the villains of the show. There's always some sort of villain that like relates to the arc. You're laughing, but it's very much like
It's just like the villains of Sex Education. Just sounds fun.
Yeah.
Tell me
But
about
like,
it.
so for example, the villain. So like, for example, the theme in season 1 is being able to comfortably discuss sex and realizing that sex is a natural part of life. Everyone does it, and so like we should be open to like maybe not like walking on the street just to ask people about their sex life, but it should be something that you're able to discuss with people, and have like a healthy conversation about it. The villain of that arc is Adam, who is a bully of the school, and he has repressed like homosexual desires, and he's like lashing out
Yeah.
to Eric's best
Which
friend.
every
who's
bully
gay.
is gay. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Yeah. But the point is that by the end of the show, that he gets over those because he talks to Otis, and Otis helps him through his dilemma. There. So, but like the villains are important to the show, because they provide a juxtaposition as to why this environment exists.
Is the way it is. So, what is
Right.
so bad? What could go so wrong? It seems like a good setup.
Yeah. So in season 4, they threw all 3 of those key pillars out the window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're now in college now, I believe. Like they're in college now. They're at least in senior year. The crew moves to a new school that is completely open and willing to discuss whatever they want all the time. They even have like a sex therapist in the school. Okay, great. And things just kind of like tumble from there. So to start things off, like our villain, quote unquote, of the show is O, who is the sex therapist that resides in this new school. I can't even remember the name of the new school. The problem is that they frame O as a villain, and she really, really should not be a villain. Like, it doesn't make any sense because she is doing what Otis is doing, but they really want you to not like this character for like really no reason. And it's just like they make her snarky and they make her rude and make her mean. And it's just, it feels like we're just wanting to make this an antagonistic force, and it's not really doing anything to like actually be like talking about the whole premise of the show.
It's not a,
so that's like
it's like not an earned antagonist.
Yes, that's one. The second thing is that because the school is pretty open, is willing to talk about anything, is very inclusive, you kind of lose why Otis does his thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just suddenly is like no longer needed because that's being filled in the void. The other thing I forgot to mention is that O is a student at the school. Like, which it's like, okay, so you want the school to be inclusive and be able to like have these discussions, but rather than hire a professional to provide therapy for your students, you are letting a student provide therapy for the students. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're wanting to be inclusive and you're trying to tout like, oh, this is an environment where like it's much more open to discuss things. It just doesn't make sense as to why like you have to do it that way. It's just there for Otis to like have it like butt heads with somebody. And then finally, Otis like forgets every single fucking thing he learned throughout the past 3 seasons.
That's
like,
always the most annoying shit, actually. Like, reversing the character development for no reason.
Yes, and it's so frustrating because at this point, Otis has gone through relationships. He's had sex. He's lost his virginity. He has been heartbroken by people. He has broken other people's hearts. Like, he has done the gambit. Like, he's grown up at this point. And so it just sucks when you get to Otis in season 4, and he's just Otis from season 1, but really mean and arrogant. And you're just like, why are we having this be our main character anymore? The other thing is they introduce a whole bunch of new characters. So like another portion about sex education is that they want to run the gambit of like the discussion about sex and everything about it. And that like season 1, very simple, homosexuality and just, you know, sex in general. By season 3, you have questions of gender identity, and that's like the main theme. Like, you know, the main antagonist of that season is very much just like boys are boys and girls are girls, and there's no like pronouns, they, them. That's nothing. Like, it's all of that. And so the show is missing that kind of like theme of like, what are we discussing in this like final season? And it really doesn't touch on any of that. And so they just sort of like, well, we have to introduce new players for sex education, so we should do some more inclusivity. So they add a bunch of like new characters that kind of run the whole rainbow of like LGBTQ, and it really dilutes like the other characters in the show. And I'm not saying those like issues should be not represented. It's just like you go from a show that had like 4 or 5 like really core main characters to like 12 who are just now all competing for screen time.
Joe is saying that this is homophobe Joe arc, actually, secretly.
It's true. I am just so homophobic.
This sounds like how Teen Wolf devolved, where like, there's like 4 characters in the first season, and now like in season 5, it's like, look at all 13 characters, and it's an MTV music scene.
Yeah, pretty much. The other thing too is like, I feel like the writers of the show just didn't understand like some of the stuff the characters were saying were just not right. And like, I thought that would lead to like the conflict, but like the writers were like, no, that's fine. for example, like there is one of the new girls that gets introduced. She is a trans girl. She's like the most popular girl in school, so everyone loves her. Everyone thinks she's great. Great big win. Like you have this trans woman as like your star student. But she has her table that she sits with, and she's very much just like, you're not allowed to badmouth anybody when you're around me. And you're like, okay, she wants to provide positive environment, but because she's saying all that, like it makes it so no one feels comfortable like speaking aloud what their problems are because they might relate to somebody else. Like, oh my God, Willer's being so annoying today because
That's
of X,
never
Y, and
happened.
Z. Never happened. Tyler just has some shit takes, and I just can't believe he would say something like that. Like,
Joe's making up some wild shit right now. I don't know.
yeah, but the point being is that like sometimes you need to like vent your frustration, and by creating that kind of environment where you try to shut that down, you're actually creating a more toxic friendship because now you are controlling how people are feeling and saying that their feelings don't exist. They never address that in the show, and she does it the entire time. And I'm like, what the this woman is a bitch. I don't get it. Like, why is no one having this discussion? It drove me insane. It took me 4 days to watch one of the episodes at one point. It's like the second to last episode. I gotta get through this. Like I'm almost done. And every time like I watch like 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is so bad. And it's a very frustrating thing. I came to find out that the writers of the show weren't aware that this would be the last season until like halfway through the writing process.
Oh, that's really bad.
Yeah.
It seems like they wanted to flesh out like that whole other school arc a little bit more, and then it's just a weird final season now.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it, but I think the other part of it too is that like the head writer of the show was like, oh, I really wanted to make Otis the main character, the villain of the show, and I was like, what the fuck?
Turns out it was Christian propaganda the entire time.
That's not a fucking twist. I want my money back.
Yeah, I was just like, what, why would you, like, and not in, like, a very clever way. They were just like, yeah, we just, like, so, for example, O is the student that is, like, writing the sex therapy thing now at this new school. They're like, yes, and so, like, when people ask on Twitter to the writer, she's like, yeah, so, like, my theory was, like, O is, like, an Asian woman, and I really want the white man to come in and try to take over her space and really represent what it's like to, like, have your own personal space. And then the white man comes and kicks you out and takes over. And I'm like, okay, that seems like a decent premise for a show. But you would make O the main character. You wouldn't make Otis the main character and film it that way. That doesn't make any sense to me.
They have to make the main character of the other seasons the main character, to be fair.
True. So yeah, it just was like really, really frustrating, and it felt like the writers were too focused on trying to like get some sort of new like angle on like inclusivity in, rather than like finishing out the ties they have for the show for the characters they already introduced. And like I think season 3 like really kind of like went through like, here's like all like the modern like issues we're facing now, like especially like the gender identity thing, because it's like that's a really touchy subject nowadays, and it kind of shows you like there's a scene where like a woman is like, now that a person is taping their breasts because they don't want to be identified as a woman, and it's a very gruesome and painful process, and you're like, I understand now the pain that someone goes to when they don't like their headspace doesn't match the body they're in. Like I totally get it. And then they do the same plot point in this series. I'm like, why are we retreading the same ground we already did? It felt very tiring. That being said, I think the first 3 seasons of the show are very good. I think they're great. You could probably watch seasons 1 to 3 and then not worry about 4 and just be like, all right, cool, I'm done, and move on with your life.
A nice 3-season series if I've ever seen one.
All right.
Correct.
Tyler comes to you today with a nice menu selection.
What is that?
Okay.
How spicy would you like your takes today?
You know what? I would like a four pepper out of 5 pepper spice.
It's traditional to do just one last dab. You don't have to, but it's tradition.
Why is Tyler shaking the ball right now?
A four out of 5. Let me see.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay. How do I phrase this? If you're no, that's not bad.
I was gonna say that.
This is a good 4 out of 5. If Big Mouth upsets you and sex education does not, you have a wrong sense of mind.
What?
They're both about kids and sex.
Well, I don't think sex education shows like Lola's vagina.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
just Amy Schumer.
There's a lot of penis that you see in the show.
There's a lot of
underage penis. You hear that, Willer? Underage penis.
Well, the other thing is,
Please actually go back and mute that. You need to edit that out. No,
I was about to say, I was
you
like,
need to have that timestamp.
No, I'm good. You set yourself up for 4 out of 5 spice.
Yeah,
What do you mean underage penis? Yes, that's the problem. I don't think sex education.
That is the problem.
I don't think sex education, because also Big Mouth gets gross. Like,
yeah,
and that is the theme. To be fair, it's like, well, growing up and puberty is gross.
It's
so
gross.
Get over it.
yeah. I mean, I think they're two different things. Like,
Are they, Joe? Are they? Tell me how
Big-
they are.
Big Mouth is about being 10, 11 years old and going through changes in your body and like
Those
how
kids
that
are
affects you.
puberty. All right,
Goes through
puberty's a
puberty.
spectrum.
Yes. Sex education deals mainly about actually like the act of sex, like the actual act of like.
Well, that does seem worse, actually.
Yeah. It deals with like sexual relationships and relationships in general and like, you know, how they need to be discussed and just kind of like how everyone goes through the same but also different sexual experiences.
It does help that these are almost
These are
adults, as opposed to
They are actors that are above the age of 18. They are adults in the show.
Portraying underage people as opposed to Big Mouth, where everybody is fake.
Yes.
We're letting him win. We got to move on.
The thing is, Tyler, I think you are right that like if Big Mouth offends you and sex education doesn't, I think you're a hypocrite. But I also think Big Mouth looks fucking ugly and sex education has made.
I don't think
Absolutely, it's very ugly.
I don't think Big Mouth is offensive. It just is very ugly.
Yes. Like I do agree with you on that. It's just
it offends my eyes.
I give you a 4 out of 5 spice, and Joe's good at eating spicy food.
He's
True.
all right.
God, Emma Mackey? She is gorgeous, I think. But hey, that's just me.
Horny time is over. We gotta move on.
Yeah, horny time is over.
Are you ready? I can't believe this is a segment. We're gonna talk about 3 books that Tyler read.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm taking off my push to talk for this one.
They're radio plays. But go ahead.
Yeah, radio plays. Let's get it right, Willer.
Boom,
These
bush,
are
swash.
a step up above audiobooks.
You used to clown on the radio play aspect of this.
These are not Brandon Sanderson's perfectly narrated audiobooks. These are entertainment audio plays. Fully voice casted, different actors, guest stars. We're talking about the series Dungeon Crawler Carl.
I know, right? Hold your horses. It sounds even better than it sounds.
Y'all,
You're blowing through these things.
I bought this thing on a fucking whim, and I think in like 3 months I've gone through 5 books.
It's like your identity now. You're like the dungeon crawl guy.
Dude, now I'm starting to get
3 months.
I'm starting to get recommended these things on my Audible page now.
How do they know?
The 6th book just came out in September. Like, they're booking still. So if you don't know about it, Dungeon Crawler Carl is not an isekai. It is a satire of Hunger Games with a cross-pollination of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where aliens come to planet Earth, and apparently we were supposed to like file for individuality in the Earth, in like the solar system or some shit. So we didn't. So now they're gonna harvest our planet. They killed like 80% of the population, and the last 15% are going on a game show where they crawl a dungeon made out of the planet Earth for the universe's entertainment. It's really great. The main characters get like followers and everything, and they go on talk shows. The entire time, they're literally fighting for their life to survive. And like the universe is like, oh my god, I love that moment where you nearly almost died, and that part where you had to kill your own daughter because she couldn't heal. Oh, beautiful moments. And like all these people are traumatized, like these earthlings are traumatized. There's like vengeful stories and everything that are being set up where these NPCs are like other like old crawlers and everything that are retired because they survived, and like they set up these revenge plots for other humans to kill other humans. It's been a wild time. It's been very wild. The entire also premise is like if you get to the 18th floor, they give you your entire planet. That like they would give you planet Earth. So, but we quickly learn earlier on nobody has made it past the 12th floor. And there's a lot of lore that goes into that and everything. So it very much becomes like a good little bit of kaiji thrown in there where like you can win, but haha, nobody ever wins, sort of thing.
I do like me some fucked up psychological horror.
It is all of that with the Borderlands handsome Jack sprinkled on top, narrating and commenting the game part of it.
You lost me again.
I know.
How long does it take to get through like a floor? You said there's 18 of them?
That is the beautiful thing, all right? So book 1 covers floors 1 and 2, all right? So we get some good depth. Book 2 covers floor 3, and I'll say book 2 is really where it starts. So like that's a good cutoff point where if you're not invested into anything by like at the end or midway point of book 2, then there's no point in continuing on. You're just not gonna like it anymore.
You were talking to me about it, and you were like, the first book was like a good introduction. Like obviously it got you hooked because you kept going, but you said like around 2 or 3, he actually started hitting his stride.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You all three of you just keep reading books where the first one is a non-factor, like a setup book.
You gotta give him a say.
That setup book was actually incredible. Like, I think it's super good.
Yeah, let's do the tax test. Yeah, I heard your shit. Anyways, go
That's
on.
the second book, bitch.
And then so after book 1, so book 1 and 5 cover multiple floors. Books 2, 3, and 4 are all 1 floor. So for example, oh, man, let me try. I'm there in book 3. I think they go on something called the Iron Tangle. This is because it consists of thousands of interconnected subway tunnels, and each tunnel has a color designation or unique name and has one or more trains running on a loop. And all these are like, they start at train station like 130 on the red line or something. And they have to get to the exit gates, and the exit gates are all at train stations lower than like gate 100. So there's 5 on each line, but they're all below 100, and the trains only run upwards on each line. So they have to figure out this entire convoluted puzzle of like, how do they descend down the numbers without getting like hit by the train, hit by whatever else's traps are on there.
That's a really fun setup. I think that is so convoluted that it's gonna breed some good shit. That sounds cool.
It's so fucking convoluted that people have drawn up maps to describe it that end up looking like Jeremy Bearimy in terms of like trying to describe the Iron Tangle. Like, I'm looking at this guy's drawing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they've got this map, and this is how the stairwells work, and there's all these like train stations and rail yards that have to deal with it."
Side note, I like how we can make Jeremy Bearimy references and Bradley gets it now. This makes me happy.
I know, thank God. Like, before I wouldn't have thought that was funny, and now I'm like, hey.
There's lots of moments in the book where, like, everything has set up to become, and the second book establishes this, almost everything that happens and occurs is a Chekhov's gun. And it's just like, when is this gonna go off? And it happens at the very beginning where, like, the second main character is like, they put on this crown without reading it, and it's called the Crown of the Sepsis Whore. It inflicts a sepsis debuff when you hit people with magical attacks. That's the point. But also, when you get to floor 9, you have to do, what's the arc in Hunter x Hunter right now?
The Succession War?
It's a Succession War on floor 9 that you get enrolled in. And then you have to kill everybody who has, like, who's a part of this royal bloodline. And it's been a fun ride. And every time I feel like at the end of book 5, I was like, okay, this is like, so in book 5, it goes from book 4 is like 15 or 16 hours or so. Book 5 is like 26 hours. Like the length goes up.
Damn.
And I was like, oh man, this is dragging along a little bit. But then like towards the end, a bunch of shit happens at the climax that just always builds the world up a little bit more, while also building up some character moments. And it's been a lot of fun. Willer, I think going in, if you have the mindset of Carl is an anarchist. And the game has rules, and there's a government, and there's like lawyers involved, and he is always trying to break the rules of the game and universal law so that he can try to fuck over the people who are running the game.
See, but there's a fine line between the character getting himself into frustrating trouble or the character being like Jimmy McGill or Walt, where you're like, ah, shit, but I still love you though.
It's like Jimmy McGill and the very end game of God, who's the guy from Breaking Bad? Walt. It's like the very end of Walt and Jimmy McGill fused into one character of just chaotic energy, like, I'm going to break them all. I don't give a fuck as long as they suffer in the end, sort of vibe. He's a little bit of an edgelord at sometimes with it.
It seems like this could get edgy. I was just gonna say, like, the thing is, like, I have some credits I need to spend. I'll use one of them to buy a new Pimsleur volume, and I was considering using the other one for this. It's just that every time you talk about this, it's actually quite phenomenal, because I remember it was like this last time. You say something that sounds really cool, and then you immediately follow it with the most anti-Willer core bullshit I've ever heard.
I think I've resolved to at least use one of my credits on book 1.
Yeah, like, I should give one book a try, right?
I mean, you should, considering I read Worm and Pact.
Yeah. I mean, that's a Bradley.
Yeah.
That's
but also, like, I'm interested.
The subway, the subway arc seems fun to me.
I will say this, okay? This book is not a thinker. It is a good in the sense I say this is an absolute Tyler experience. I've been doing a lot of driving. Mm-hmm. I go brain off, and you know, when I listen to Pact and everything, I'm intense. I'm part of it. But I can enjoy it, you know, like I can enjoy the emotional impact that comes with that and a lot of the descriptive language. There's not a whole lot of advanced prose with Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's very descriptive. The voice cast is entertaining. The quality's good. It's just entertainment for entertainment's sake. Ryan's been reading it and he said it's good, but it's like a reality show of audiobooks. And I just like, you know, if that's your spin on it, like, For me, it's just entertainment for entertainment's sake, you know.
And I feel like that'll fill a good niche for me too, because like with some of the audiobooks I've been doing, like the Three Body Problem. My problem with that book is like I like to listen to audiobooks while I play video games, but with that particular book, if my focus diverts away from the book for even 2 seconds, I'm gonna be totally lost. This one I feel like it's an entertainment book. Like it's something I can probably multitask while listening to.
I multitask a lot. I played a shit ton of Destiny while I was listening to this book. Like,
I still have 40 chapters of kind of Monte Cristo to do, but maybe a.
But yeah,
would be
like
nice.
how often do I say an audiobook is good for side piece content?
I don't know. I think that's like their main thing. I can't play video games though audio unless it's Tears of the Kingdom was so good for audiobooking. It was the perfect vibe. So it has to be. Disgaea can be good once I hit the post game and I don't have to watch cutscenes anymore. That'll be my new audiobook.
Dude, speaking of audiobooks, I'm already back up to Arc 4 again on my re-listen of Mother of Learning.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Shit. Arc 4. Wait, that's the end.
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't scope out Demogorgon's new book for us. What's going on? Is that a real thing?
Demogorgon.
Demogorgon.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's just.
No, you're right. I read the first chapter, and it was all right. It wasn't that great, but
he fell off.
then again, Mother of Learning took a few chapters to hit the point.
Anywho, you got any more Carl-related content for us?
So, it's great. I'll say another caveat. First book, pretty damn predictable. But it's still, you're like, holy shit, I can't, like, what the fuck? Like, is that really a thing?
Let me back up. Is there like themes to this story? Like, I will listen to an easygoing manga or book or TV show as long as there's like something for me to latch onto thematically or like good character arcs or something. Like, give me something.
Is there a point?
Like, is it just cool events or is there like something in there for me? You know, like
thematically, there are a lot of forces. So like. The Crawl, as it's called, has been going on for millennia. There are a lot of forces in the universe who are actively and adamantly opposed to it, who every year try to help the Crawlers destroy the Crawl or the government running it one by one.
It sounds like a dystopian rebellion story in a way, and it's like...
We've all read Hunger Games, dude.
Yeah, I've heard about Songbirds this year. I'm up there.
Again,
like,
I haven't sugarcoated that. I said it's a satire every time.
No, you haven't.
So really cool thing. I just started book 6, and this is fucking great because the first time I talked about this, I don't think book 6 was out yet.
Hey,
cool.
I described do you remember what I described the main voice actor's voice as?
No, but I remember you distinctly making fun of his whoosh wash whoosh boosh.
No, that's Solo Leveling.
Shit,
you did say the reader was actually like he was pretty good. Like he has a bunch of distinct voices for each character.
Yeah.
He sounds like a knockoff Patrick Warburton.
Oh right.
Oh shit.
In the beginning of the 6th book, they announced their guest voices, and fucking Patrick Warburton is the main character's dad.
Ha!
And I'm like, holy fucking shit.
Hey Peter, we gotta do the crawl.
No.
The cool thing is
Wait, Joe does need to do the crawl, doesn't he? God damn it.
The really exciting thing about this is when they harvested all the humans and like the planet Earth at the very beginning, they will recycle people for parts of the game, like real people, and they're like, I don't know what, like some of them retain their memories, and it's like like the very first person they fought was this boss who was a hoarder, and like she was fully conscious of who she was, but she like had no idea where she was or why cockroaches kept coming out of her mouth.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Tyler, can I spoil something about book 6 or 7 for you?
For Dungeon Crawler Carl?
Yeah.
No.
I can predict the future. You ready?
Okay.
Floor 18 is definitely not the end of this because 18 is a weird number. So at 18 you get your planet back, but at 19 they declare bonus war on your planet. where they won't mine it anymore. They'll just nuke it. So after that, they have to still do shit. Like I don't.
Nowhere close.
18
Nowhere
can't,
close.
18 can't be the final floor. Also, you know what's in 18 or after 18?
If Willard had listened to our chat,
I might have ran to the bathroom very quick at the very start of it.
Floor
Okay.
18 was the friends we made along the way.
Oh, right.
um,
Just like the One Piece.
for context, yeah, that is like what the advertisement says. Nobody has made it past floor.
Right,
12.
no one's made it to 12. I'm saying if you make it past 18, there's bonus bullshit.
No,
You don't just win.
nobody makes it past 12.
It's actually impossible.
In the next book, he gets to 12 and he dies, and that's the end of the series.
Sick.
The cool thing, so we talked
Nice
about
satire,
Joe's,
bro.
We talked about a movie. One of the characters is the AI running the game. We just found out some cool lore about the AI in book 5.
You mean the foot fetish AI? Haha, I love it.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
so funny. It's so funny. I'm so intrigued by the
Dude,
foot fetish
the
AI.
voice actor doing the lines for the AI actually nails it, so it is funny.
Okay. A good performance can save cringe. It's true.
That's
It
the
is
thing.
funny.
How it's read can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Patrick.
So,
Wilson
Dungeon
helps.
Crawler Carl, if you like audio plays and like lit RPG books, I think it's potentially one of the top ones that's on the market right now. It's really cool at my age to find new things that I enjoy so much.
Yeah.
That is cool. If you don't enjoy hearing about Carl, I got bad news for you because Tyler will talk about book 10 in 2 months.
Book 7, I think, is going to take a couple years.
Okay,
I'm on
so they're not that
hiatus,
fast. Okay, finally.
No.
we got a break. Okay. Joe, what is Total War Pharaoh? What is this?
The screenshots look cool.
So this is the new Total War game that just came out. Most importantly, it's not the first. It's a new historical title for Total War. They've been primarily focusing on Warhammer, and the last historical title was Total War: Three Kingdoms, which I talked about on the podcast years ago.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. There is a lot of stink up happening about this game.
Oh,
shit.
color me fucking impressed.
Yeah.
You're only in shitty fan bases, Joe.
It's so it goes like a few layers deep because the reasoning behind what kind of caused this all to happen was Creative Assembly released the Shadows of Change DLC for Warhammer 3, which is a Lord Pack. So Lord Packs in the past were $10 each. And they had 2 new characters that you could play as in the game and had a few more units, yada yada. They released this one. It had at the same amount, if not a little bit less content, and came out for $25 this year. And so it kind of just like caused everyone in the Total War subreddit to like lose their fucking minds and just be like, oh, we need to boycott the series now. And they immediately started calling Total War Pharaoh shit because it took a lot of the same mechanics from Total War Troy, which came out a few years ago for free on the Epic Games Store. And I really like Troy. It's a Bronze Age game, and it focuses mainly on like foot soldier combat. And so a lot of people just think that like it's not worth the $60 price tag that it set out to say they've reused a lot of assets. I think Total War Pharaoh has a lot of really, really cool mechanics in it. I think it's really, really fun, actually. They revamped the economic system. So in previous Total War games, you have like just gold, and you spend gold to buy buildings, to buy units, and to like, do a bunch of other stuff, bribe your neighbors, things like that. In Pharaoh, there are now hang on, I'm counting it in my head. There are 5 different resources that you can use. There is food, bronze, stone, and wood. Bronze and stone are used for buildings. Food and bronze are used for your units, And then you have a fifth currency, gold, which is kind of like a catch-all currency that is used in both buildings and in unit maintenance, and is also potentially used to like bribe your neighbors into like doing things for you politically. So, which I think is a really cool mechanic because it makes you really like focus in on like, all right, how do I want to conquer this? We're running low on food. My neighbor literally has 3 food settlements. I guess I'm going to war with him because I need to feed people in my empire. So you create that different dynamic, and this is set during the time period of like the last great Egyptian pharaohs. It's like right at the Bronze Age collapse where the sea people come in and start like burning everything to the ground. And so another like it's very focused on this time period. There's not a lot of like unit variety. There isn't a lot of like progression, I would say, in what your units turn into. They usually go for like axe infantry with bronze, axe infantry with like super bronze, basically. There's not a lot of like changes in the way the units look. But I kind of like that it's more focused and more tactical in like the sense of like just these small units, because rather than having these big hulking units in Warhammer, you now have to be like, okay, I have to be very conscious of what my units that I send and like where they go, because the small differences that they have make a large difference in the battle that I'm doing. So you're paying a lot more attention to the small little intricacies of how your units are made up and like what they're wearing and stuff like that. The other thing, and people like really don't like that, it's focused on this very small, narrow region of the world. I don't give a shit. I think it's kind of cool that we were focusing on such a small time period in this small space. I don't know. It's really hard to discuss without getting into the nitty gritty of it. But I think overall, it's a really cool direction that Total War is going. And I really want Creative Assembly to keep going down this path, because I think it really spices up the campaign mechanics and it feels very different. Just people have their heads up their asses and want a different game entirely every single time a new game comes out. Another thing about this game that might be contributing to controversy is that the landmass this like takes place on is in Egypt, but then also against that bank that kind of goes up the east side of the Mediterranean.
Oh, I
and
hear.
up in that region.
I hear that's not a good vibe right now.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a lot of discourse on that, but like a part of me thinks that like there's something in there that causes things to get mixed up as well, because this takes place during ancient times in Egypt, and Jews were around then, and it's just all bad history altogether there. I think it's a really fun game. Do I think it's worth the $60? I honestly don't think so. That's the other thing too. Is like it's really cool, and it really I think pushes Total War in the right direction. I just think it's a little bit overpriced for what you're getting out of the deal. So I don't think that's a too much of an unfair assessment from the community. But I do think they're going overboard in saying like, oh, they're just reusing all the animations from the previous game. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Every game does that has a sequel, basically. Like,
As they should.
Yes, like you have to save on costs, and like there's no point in like re-rigging and remaking a human character that you're going to be 300 miles away from when you're looking at them. Like I don't get the mentality of like the community when they say that. It's like
10 to 25 for roughly the same content. I get the upsettiness.
Yeah, I get that. I didn't even buy that DLC because it was like that's way too much money. I was perfectly fine with paying $15. Like prices go up, sure. Doubling the price of that is crazy to me. But I think Total War Pharaoh, like it came out at like a very bad political time, because it is in that area of like the Gaza Strip and Jerusalem and Palestine. But also it came off the heels of this really ill-received DLC for another game in its franchise and the thing is, like, it's two different teams that work on these games. Like, there's a Warhammer team and there's a historical team. And I think the historical team is trying really, really hard to keep pace with Warhammer. And, like, they're just, like, there's only so much you can do with like regular ass dudes. Like we can't make giants, we can't make, you know, like demons spawn or anything. Like there's only so much we can do, and people want it to be historical, but you can't just stick to the old guns of like way things were working, because there's a lot of old mechanics that just don't pan out nowadays. So I don't know. It's just my personal thoughts of like that whole situation of like, I think the game is good. I think it's getting a lot of undeserved hate right now, and I think if you are like on the fence to War Pharaoh, I think it's worth a shot to try out. I think it's very fun, but that's just me.
Cool.
That is,
Yeah.
that is just you. No one else.
Yeah, it's just me. Bradley, if you have interest in it, I would say wait for a sale before you purchase it. Because that's like, I'm thinking to myself, it's like because I pre-ordered this game like, I would say almost immediately, but I was like, okay, I like this enough. And this was before the DLC fiasco happened.
Man, I'm waiting for the time my brain decides it's time to hyper focus on Total War, because every time like once per year I get my phase where I'm like, holy shit, I need to drop everything and play Civilization for 80 hours straight. And then every time I play Civilization, I'm like, okay, well, my favorite part is going to war with people, and I feel like if that's my favorite part, Total War would just be way more fun.
You're not wrong at all. It's very fun, and like that's the other thing too, is that people are wanting Total War to turn to a game that it isn't. Like they want it to be more Crusader Kings or Civilization, having that political stuff.
Yeah, no, I just want to fight motherfuckers.
Yeah, and it's just like I play this game because I make armies and I go fight dudes, and there's some strategic political elements to it too. But if I just wanted to do like a political simulator or something like that, I play Civ or Crusader Kings. So I think like the audience is at a weird like crossroads of like, well, I really want this game. It's like, okay, well, that game exists. It's like, well, yeah, but I want to play Total War. It's like, okay, but Total War is not trying to be that. And part of the fan base is not realizing that. It's like, there are other games for you to play. Go play those games. And it's okay to like have multiple favorites. And it's okay to play multiple different strategy games.
I want my game to be everything.
It's I don't, because I don't want to be playing Spider-Man while playing Total War. That'd be wild. But yeah, no. But Bradley, if you ever jump into it, let me know, because it's a whole different beast from other grand strategy games, because you're playing like two different games.
If I'm gonna get started with Total War, do I start with Total War Pharaoh, or do I start with another one?
I think Pharaoh is a decent starting point. Pharaoh does a really good job of like teaching you like, here are the mechanics, and you have like, because the roster is so limited, you stay focused on like what those individual things can do, rather than being like, oh god, like why is it that this chariot is really good in combat, but then this chariot isn't good in combat? And why is this unit like really good at like killing monsters, but then when it goes and fights up against peasants, it just fucking dies? Like, I think it's a lot smaller in scale, so you can stay a lot more focused.
Nice.
Which I think is good. I think alternatively, you pick up one of the Total War Saga titles, which is either Thrones of Britannia or Total War Troy. Because those are a little bit more, those are still stick to the same focus of like a small area and a little bit easier to get into, but they're cheaper. Like, I think they're around $30 or $40. I really like Troy. Troy gives you an option of doing a mythological mode or historical mode, so you can get the best of both worlds there. The granddaddy is, of course, Warhammer or Total War 3 Kingdoms. That's still like the best, like one of the best Total War games they've ever made. So I think like those two are like the two like ones you eventually work your way up to. But I think Pharaoh is a good jumping in point. I would just wait till it goes on sale. I think $60 is a bit too steep of a price for this game at this moment.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
Speaking of Bradley and how I backloaded his topic, Bradley, it's the spooky month, and you're really, aside from my little touch-in with Resident Evil, you're the only person bringing the spooks.
Oh, yeah. No. They released a new Amnesia game this year, Amnesia the Bunker. Played it in time for spooky month, and y'all, they still got it. And by still got it, I mean, I'm not going to pretend Amnesia games are the best fucking games on the planet.
I was like, from what I remember, like, there's pros and cons to these games for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Man, you know what? pros and cons to these games, but I feel like they got some pros going on in this one.
Nice.
Because here's the thing, is in terms of the relation of this game to the other ones, like they came out with the first few Amnesia games, which were all very loosely related, but definitely related. There was always this like underlying otherworldly horror that is influencing the events in these games. And then a few years ago, they came out with Amnesia Rebirth, which is probably still the best one out of all of them, and it ties all of them up together, and it kind of felt like a series finale. This is another like loosely related story that is caused by the same otherworldly horrors, but like the actual setting isn't going to overlap with the other ones. And the whole thing takes place inside of a French soldier's bunker, I think during World War I.
Ooh,
And
that's a cool setting.
I will like the biggest difference about this game. All of the other Amnesia games are like survival horror walking simulators. Like basically, you're going through this spooky setting, and you're slowly getting drip fed this story, and you're usually going on a set path, and that's kind of the game. And it's a fun ride. This game, you have a lot more agency, and I'm not like, obviously I haven't played a shitload of Resident Evil, but from the little bit of Resident Evil 6 I played, this game plays more like Resident Evil, I feel like. Because you actually have, like, you have a gun, for example, and you can actually fucking shoot the monster. But it's not just that, like, you can shoot the monster to either hurt it or delay it, but you can also use it as a tool for other things. Like, I can decide to use my gun to open this lock, but that's not the only way to open the locks. You could wait till way later and hope you find a key for it, but there's also other items that allow you to open locks. So
sounds like some good survival horror at that point, where you have to manage
it's some
your
good
resources.
survival horror.
Oh.
And that's like the actual the total explorable walkable area in this game is way smaller than all of the other Amnesia games, but it feels way bigger because the whole game takes place in this one bunker. But unlike the other games where it's like, okay, you're gonna walk down this path, okay, and then you're gonna come back here, and then you're gonna walk down this narrow path until you get to this story beat. In this one, they just drop you in, and you just explore, and you go out throughout the bunker, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of here. And it feels a little bit like a Metroidvania, where it's like you'll see some door that has some like a missing doorknob or some shit, and then like 5 hours later, after I've gone through all these other crazy areas, and I've been exploring other sub areas and getting new items and new weapons and all this optional content, eventually I'll be like, oh my god, I found that fucking doorknob, and I can go back to that other area I saw earlier. And I don't know, it feels like a more liberating experience than the other Amnesia games. And apparently that's compounded by the fact that this is the first Amnesia game that, to a degree, it's procedurally generated.
Oh.
As a whole, the bunker, like the level design, I think is I think the actual layout of the bunker is supposed to be consistent between runs, but apparently like spawn locations for the monster and lesser enemies and certain pickups are actually procedurally generated throughout runs. And I didn't find that out until literally like 30 minutes ago. I thought my run was just how it is, and I've seen people like, no, like my first run was actually really, really easy. I always had ammo when I needed it, and like I knew where to find the keys. In my second run through, it's like, holy shit, it's like I was playing the game on insane difficulty, which is really cool because I would go through portions of the game where, I was having a lot of fun, just kind of going through, find the key, go to this store. And then there were some areas where I'd be like, oh my god, the way these enemies are laid out, I have to actually like think about my route through this room. I was like, I was doing trial and error. Like I was doing trial and error with this one room. I'm like, okay, there's some rats over here who are going to bite the shit out of me when I try to run away from the monster who's going to come out of that door over there. But if I pour gasoline on them, then when I'm coming through later, I can just light it up on my way through and they'll scatter out of the way and I can get home free. And like, it's kind of cool that you can make decisions about how to go through the game because you couldn't always do that.
It seems like they added a game to the game this time, and that's like
they kind of added a game to the game.
Oh, I didn't consider that one.
So I'm really impressed. I think my bottom line is, if you like Amnesia games, you'll like this one.
Amnesia likes, as they're called.
Wow.
Yeah. Amnesia
What?
likes.
What a hot take about a game series that has a dedicated fan
Yeah.
base.
Hot take.
Shush,
If you like
Joe.
the games in this series, you'll probably like this game.
Yeah.
You made
No,
that
but
up.
I'm really impressed. I feel like they're. I didn't really know what to think going into this one. I was kind of going in thinking, do I even want to play this? Because the one before this was obviously just. It felt like the conclusion of
good
the fucking
ending, yeah.
series. Like
Oh.
all the mysterious horror stuff influencing the previous games. I was like, oh, we got the answer to most of that stuff, and but this game, I think what they did gameplay wise really
Justified
was
its
really
existence
necessary.
a little bit.
yeah.
Now, Bradley, you did say at the top of this discussion that it reminds you a lot from when you played Resident Evil 6. I'm going to assume you meant Resident
He
Evil
meant
7.
7.
Because...
Don't be a hard
Yeah.
ass. We know what he meant.
Yeah, whichever
Resident-
one you're in the swamp with the fucking
with the family.
because
Yeah.
Resident Evil 6 is wild.
Is that
And-
one? What is that one? Is that one booty?
That one almost killed the series bad.
Are you
Yeah.
fucking with me?
No, yeah.
No.
It almost ruined everything.
Damn.
Yeah. It was supposed to be the ultimate survival
Right.
horror experience.
And by that they mean a bloated ass, massive game that's
Yeah.
too much for its own. good.
Oh,
Bru-
so 8 was
Yeah.
with the vampire ladies.
Yeah.
Yes.
8 had
Okay,
my mom,
now we're
my
talking.
mother.
Yeah.
In the sexy way, I mean.
Mhm.
What is that? What
I
is that?
just think it's funny that you described it that way, because if you told me a game was like Resident Evil 6 and it was good, I'd be like, what the fuck are you on?
Well,
No,
look,
okay, no, but Bradley, my question for
Yeah.
you. This one has
Yeah.
more gameplay. From what I understand, Amnesias were really good at like getting under your skin and like making you feel nervous and like psychological stuff. Is that still like up to snuff?
yes, because dude, here's one thing that the game does sometimes. You'll have gone like a full hour without a quote unquote safe room where like the monster can't get you, and then occasionally you'll get to a safe room, and then oh my god, they'll do scary shit where like, okay, we got to a safe room, let's save the game, and then you quit, and then you come back to it later, and then when you boot up the game, the first thing you boot up to is loud, like the monster breaking into the fucking safe room to scare the shit out of you. Or like later on in the game, like maybe that safe room isn't actually a safe room anymore, and you thought you could just run there to be safe. So I think they're pretty good at fucking with you.
Good. Alrighty. I got a relatively quickish topic. We'll see how this goes.
Oh my god, I'm ready to hear about this one.
I played Liza P and I beat Liza P. I love that while there is a lot of games this year, thankfully they've been mercifully like lengthed. I love how
Yeah.
short like whatchamacallit, Armored Core was, which is what like my thing on my plate before this one. So did this one. Liza P, if you don't know, is a Korean game that is a Souls-like. That's no longer like a new thing, right? For a new studio to be doing a Souls game. Many have tried, many have failed. Liza P decidedly does not fail.
Let's go.
To the point where I'll open up the discussion by saying it's my 4th favorite Souls game.
Wow.
Maybe it maybe even 3rd. And when I say Souls game, I'm talking about like I'm putting it in the roster with FromSoft Souls games and putting it above like 4 of them.
Damn.
So that's like this. They cooked. On a game design level, this is so easily the best Souls game as far as like mechanics and systems. It's like they took every grievance you could have with Souls and then just made really good systems around it, and they are really addicting to play with. They're really thoughtful and not wasting your time too much. Like they just got like all the beats right and did it better than From could. In fact, like one of my favorite mechanics of the game is something called the P organ. Let's take it back.
The P organ.
I'm not talking about my cock. Okay, let's take it back a sec. This is a game that is a Pinocchio game. It is a Pinocchio story because Pinocchio. What? Why is that a
Pinocchio, P organ. They knew what they were doing.
The Pinocchio organ. It's his heart. The skill tree is his heart.
Yeah, I know where my heart is too.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. And then, so, because it's, like, public domain, they can do, like, a full-ass Pinocchio game. You got Pinocchio, you got Geppetto, you got Gemini. I fucking hate Gemini. You got other, like, references, like, if you pre-order the game, you get, like, him with a donkey mask as a costume, and you get, like, a classic Pinocchio outfit where, like, it's a green with, like, a stupid hat. Like, the costumes in this game are great. But it's a very gritty, very Bloodborne feeling setting. Where it's like you're in some sort of like oldish London-inspired environment, and things are all about puppets at first, and like puppets have gone berserk. The force that powers them has caused them to go into frenzies, and they are breaking the laws that were ingrained in them, where they're supposed to help and not harm humans or lie to humans. But they're breaking that, and Pinocchio is the one good one. He awoke. He's not the one good one, but he's awoke and he's becoming more and more human. He can lie to humans. He can also but he fights to protect them. But there's some interesting stuff they do with that as far as like killing humans and the morality of Pinocchio. I don't know if he's properly Pinocchio or if he's just P. I think he is properly Pinocchio. I'll get to that a little later. So I don't know like everything about Pinocchio lore, but you do go inside a giant whale, but the way they do it is like you call in a submarine to get to like the final island, and the submarine's shaped like a whale, so it's like, oh, that's a really cute way to do it. So they have like all these little things. The story is told a lot more straightforwardly, and like you have Jiminy with you. He travels around with you in your lantern. The problem is all his lines are really either poorly translated, poorly read, or just bad lines. And it might be a mix of all three. The weakness of this game is definitely... It's not the story. The story is actually quite interesting. And it's just a very interesting story about Pinocchio becoming a real boy, but in a mature, like, kind of form of that, you know? But the actual dialogue can be very uninspired or cringy. Like, you read the notes that people leave behind, it does, like, the more traditional, like, someone left some scribbles on the wall, and that's how you pick up the lore, as opposed to, like,
nice
reading some dank shit on a ring that you found somewhere. It still has some of that, but, like, it's not as engaging. Like, it's written very blandly, but the actual story is interesting, so I feel like it was a localization team issue, which is rare. We're in an era where, like, localization teams tend to be pretty good. I feel like they might have dropped the ball here, or maybe the story just wasn't that interestingly written, despite being a cool story. What's some cool mechanics about the game? So, like I was saying, you have your P organ. We've returned to there. It is like a skill tree. Every time you, like, exploration feels really good because you fight quartz, and each time you get a quartz, you put it in your P organ, and it, like, very much increases what you can do. And, like, it's one of the most addicting skill trees, because, like, for example, going back to Spider-Man 2018, it's got the most, like, it feels like someone held the devs at gunpoint to put in a skill tree, kind of skill tree, where it's like, yeah, this does this, and you get a couple percents into this there. Like, it's very by the books. You have to use the P organ to survive in this game. Like, it's giving you very necessary mechanics.
Bro, you gotta stop saying P organ.
I love it. I love it.
Dude, it's what it's called, and I respect
It's what it's called.
You could call it the Porgan.
No, it's not the Porgan. It's the P-organ. Your weapons have a cool system where non-boss weapons, you can, like, they come in the form of a hilt and a blade, and you can mix and match hilts and blades. The hilt and the blade each have a different skill, so you always have two, like, special attacks you can do with your mana bar. And what you can do is you can mix and match to both change the scaling of weapons, but also, like, how they function. The length and their movesets will change. And you can mix and match those two abilities that they each have. The game has parries, but also blocks. And the way it works is blocks are... It's like a Souls game where, like, you don't get a shield in this game, except for one instance. What you said, like, you have to block with your weapon. And just like in a Souls game, when you block with your weapon, you don't get 100% blocking. But if you parry something with perfect timing, you will perfectly block it and also do a lot of stagger damage. So it's got a bit of Sekiro in there. The speed is like very Dark Souls 3, so it's borrowing from a lot of them. But what it does do, if you block an attack, you get red health that you can recover by being aggressive. So kind of like what Bloodborne does with the rally system. So yeah, what's really impressive and like what really skyrocketed this up my rankings is the areas. Like the stages are so good; they're really fun to explore. There's not that annoying stage that's gonna halt your progress. They're a really good level of challenge. They have good enemies. They have a lot of boss units that run around, but if you kill them, they die forever on the stage, like mini bosses. A controversial part I have with the game, and what keeps it from like being above Dark Souls 3, which is like what it's below right now for me, is that the bosses are really, really fucking hard. They like
Ooh.
this is coming from me. Remember how I play Souls games? How I would not use summons in Elden Ring, and I beat that game 6 times.
I was about to say, you're the last person I would think would complain about a game being hard.
These bosses are unfun challenging sometimes. Where, like, I made a tier list of the bosses, I begrudgingly put one of them in S. Like, just to put something in S, because I felt bad, I put, like, the second to last boss in S. Like, it was getting rough. Most of them are, like, I put in C. There was, like 4 or 5 in B, and then like 5-ish in A. So like there were good ones, but like a problem is 80% of the bosses, if not more, are like 2-phase bosses where like you have to deplete a whole health bar and then they get up and do that. And when you do enough of that, it gets kind of fucking annoying. But more damning is that the second phases have completely different movesets almost every time. Where like I now have to go through the first phase. It is a completely different boss from the second phase. I get to the second phase, immediately die. None of what I learned in phase 1 is carrying over to phase 2 because there's no carryover of the movesets. What I prefer is if you're going to do that, and you're going to do that for almost every boss, is that phase 2 has mostly the same moveset, like we're going to say 80%, and then like a couple new mechanics and moves to throw on top of that, and like some variations on the first move to make it a little trickier, as opposed to like the bosses look so cool and are so cool conceptually, but my fucking god, they're fucking annoying to fight. So near the end they were getting better though, but I think it's because your power level rises to the occasion of being able to scrap with these bosses with like the most nonsense attack patterns. There is like no rhyme or reason for when their combo stops. Like there's no rhythm to it. Like every single attack will go on one attack more than you think they should. And it's like, okay, that's a cool trick. Don't do it for every fucking attack. Give me a couple of easy, like, openings for the love of God. To the point where, like, I summoned to beat 4 of the bosses, which is not something I do in Souls games. I just beat the bosses solo. To be fair, in 2 of those, I was just summoning to get past phase 1 so I could learn phase 2. And then I was like, no, let's just beat this guy up. But then 2 of them were like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get past this. Like, I shouldn't feel that way. I love hard boss fights. So it is a bit of a bummer. Maybe in a New Game Plus run, though, I would like all the bosses more. So there is a chance that this could become 3rd. Now, okay. I don't know if this is interested any of y'all into playing it. I don't know. I kind of want to spoil the ending a little bit.
I want to. It's just one of those situations of like, I don't have time.
I won't spoil.
I like you can spoil it because to me playing the game is the fun part.
Yeah, like so there's some cool stuff with Pinocchio and Geppetto near the end. The final boss, if you take a certain path, is really cool. It is basically what the power source that's fueling all these puppets. There was a petrification disease that petrifies humans, but then turns their memories into an essence called ergo, and that is the souls that you collect throughout the game and the souls that they use to power the puppets. So the puppets start becoming self-actualized people because they're made of people's memories. You are specifically the son of Geppetto that he put into a very special puppet, and now he wants to make you a real boy, so give him back his heart. And it's like, fuck, like, Dad, why are you doing this? I genuinely love you. So the final boss, if you choose to not give him the heart, is called Nameless Puppet, and it's like a body that he made with like the remains of Geppetto Carlo, who is Geppetto's son. and
Mhm.
he fights with a cool like scissor blade that he can split into two. He's insane, but he's like a pretty good like he was a good challenge, but he's got insane attack patterns like every boss in this game. Once you beat that, you get this bonus ending where one of the characters is talking about how like puppetry and ergo is one form of immortality, but we are researching multiple, and he's on a train talking to some mysterious person. And then it's like, we need to go back and investigate more on the subject called Dorothy. And then you cut to a girl walking in red slippers, and like you just see the slippers walking by. And she's like looking at the hotel that served as your home base the whole game, and then she clicks her feet, and you realize that the sequel to this game is going to be the Wizard of Oz game, and I think it's going to be called The Dreams of D, and it's going to be about how dreams are another form of immortality if you can just like eternally live in a dream, which is that sounds so Bloodborne. Like, oh dude, the dream like if they can take everything they learned and the complaints like boss complaints are actually pretty popular. I know some people don't have problems with them, but a lot of people do think they're like some of them are unfun hard. If they can tighten up the bosses and tighten up the dialogue, they're going to make a fucking out of this world good game for the sequel. This was their first attempt, and they are competing with FromSoft. So like
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I gotta hand it to them. They did really good. So Dreams of D, I will be talking about it in 2026. Look forward to that. Maybe that's optimistic, but they should take their time, make the challenge a little bit. I feel like they're like, it's the same thing with Elden Ring, where like they're like, we're not gonna test the bosses very much because we're gonna let you summon, and they make a lot of mechanics for summoning and buffing them. Now, the bosses of Elden Ring, I could learn, like I could fight them. Even Melania was like took me 70 tries or to 100 tries, but I didn't feel she was as bullshit as like even like a mid-game Liza P boss. Like, they took me less tries, but they were less fun to figure out, is my complaint with them. So, that is something, like, if you do play this game, throw away your pride, just get ready to summon for some of the bosses when it feels like it's getting unfun. I do recommend it. And let's end this whole shindig with Bradley having recently watched Ranking of Kings, and I have also watched it this year. It's been a while for Tyler, but he might remember some stuff. What did you think, Bradley?
Oh man, I thought it was phenomenal. Tyler recommended it a very long time ago, and I'm glad I finally checked it out, because holy shit.
It feels like a very Bradley core show.
Man, I thought it was great. It was a concise, just little... I really like having like a one-season story, man.
I think they are making
what I mean?
season 2, because it's based on a manga that has continued.
Yeah, I know. Now, last night I did watch an episode of they have like a, I don't know if you would call it a sequel series. It's like another show called, it's like Ranking a King's Treasure Chest of something, where apparently it's supposed to be canon stuff from the manga that didn't have time to be adapted into the original season.
Is it like a mini season? Oh, so it's stuff that would have taken place before season 1 ended, but they didn't animate it.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
for example, I like the first episode is something that happens while Boji is training with Despa, who is his like mentor in the underground.
I
And,
love Despa.
oh my god, he's like so. I was about to call him my favorite character. He might just be. I love him so much. But no, this story. It has a really good balance between being like bright and cheerful and funny, and also being like horribly dark and depressing, which I love. Oda with One Piece normally is like the king of just like the saddest backstories ever, and I feel like he has a peer here. The backstories in this show are just so tragic. Holy shit!
The thing I remember the most about the show is actually Miranjo. She was just very interesting and mysterious, and like you learn more and more about her backstory and her thing with King Boss. So that's one of the best backstories. I'm trying to. What were some of the other highlight ones? I mean, Boji's whole like the whole reason why he's weak as he is pretty upsetting.
Yeah, like the reason why he's weak was, I think that was just a really cool idea, and the whole setup. This like firstborn prince that he's never gonna go stronger, and also he can't hear, and also he can't speak.
He's messed up. Like he's like 2 steps too fucked up. Like it's so cruel.
And God, like from minute 1, I was just rooting for this kid the whole fucking way.
I wonder if it's possible to watch this show and not love Boji. Like you'd have to be a sick fuck.
And that's the thing. By the end of the show, even all the people in the show fucking love Boji.
Even the people who threw him down a well, they're like, God damn it, I love this little kid.
That's the thing. His sword teacher Domus or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he did that. And then whenever he sees Boji again, his literal first reaction is, I'm killing myself right now. For what I did.
That was so good. That was a really compelling arc. He's got the friend. I was worried that the characters would die, but this is also One Piece where like did anyone die? I don't think so. They got some hits in though.
I think it's like One Piece where like all the people who die and die horribly are in the flashbacks, but like in the modern day, like it's, everyone gets a chance.
I thought that bald guy died like 3 times. I was so he had me getting ulcers for how nervous I was.
Bro, he was holding out.
He was.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a lot of cool characters here, and one vibe I got before I even learned that there was like a whole other season I can watch with bonus canon content is I was like, man, I feel like there's more story here they want to tell, like with the underworld or with the Four Knights.
It almost felt a little rushed with some of that stuff. That's like my one knock against the series.
Exactly. So I was like, I feel like I hope I'm gonna get like just more flesh in this world by keeping watching, because like for example with the immortal swordsman from the underworld, I'm like, I want to know what fucking happens with that dude.
Oaken was horrifying. He was
horrifying.
Jesus Christ, what an antagonist.
Like the first 1 or 2 times he came up, I was like, okay, he's like our mid-season boss, and then they kill him and he comes back, and then they kill him harder and he comes back, and they kill him even harder and he comes back, and it keeps happening, dude.
They beat him by like Boss in Daida's body, put him in a rock and batted him into space, right? Was that how they beat him?
Dude, Boss basically turned him into paste and put him in a rock and then plugged up the hole in the rock. And it was cool when that happened because it was kind of this triangle where they're like, Oaken can beat Boji, Boji cannot beat Oaken.
But
Boss
Boji
can beat
Boss.
Oaken, and then Boji can beat Boss. And so it's like this weird triangle where I think even Despa's like, Boji, you have to let him beat Oaken first.
How did you feel about Boji being like that strong? Because it feels like he lost his weakness. Granted, he trained a lot and he was always very skilled, but my God, he was like very skilled by the end. He was like a one-man army.
And that's the thing. I think that's what I got from the series feeling a little rushed, and what I would get out of the bonus content is like I would like to see more of his training to make it feel more plausible.
I do love when Kage goes down there and like Despa's closing the door and you see this giant stone cleaved in half and like the door closes and you're like, what the hell? How do you do that?
Like, what the fuck are they doing in there?
Which Kage, oh my God, what a character! Did you watch the dub or the sub?
I watched the sub.
I watched the dub. He's voiced by ProZD, and ProZD did so good.
No way. Okay, now I gotta hear it.
Oh, the dub is fan-fucking-tastic. What's annoying though is they don't have subtitles when they're sign languaging. So if it was something very important, I had to like switch the sub for the scene, or like if it was something brief, I had to just kind of guess.
Nah, you're just supposed to read the sign language, dude.
I want to talk about Data too. Daida? Yeah, Daida. I really liked his arc, and his like bond with Miranjo. Though like the 12-year-old marrying the 27-year-old in the end was a little, Japanese story.
That's the thing, right? Daida was he was one of my favorite characters. Like the relationship between him and Boji was fascinating from the first time they ever met and had their little sparring match.
Yeah.
And then, second to last at the end of like the second to last episode, he's like, everyone, I'm gonna marry Miranjo. And everyone in the show everyone goes, what? And I'm still kind of like, what?
It's like, oh, here comes Tyler. It's like he's a king in the middle centuries. Isn't it weird how Japanese stories keep using that as an excuse? I just think it's a little convenient. I don't know. Some of these authors can't be trusted.
You watch that Game of Thrones, right?
True.
Same shit.
I mean, yeah, but the kid's fucking 12. He's not even he's 3 feet tall. It's like Koichi is towering over this child. But I love him. He's great, and I do like how he was like Miranjo's only hope, plus she was like stuck in that weird void.
Yeah.
The animation in this show is so fucking good.
Dude, some of the fight scenes, holy shit.
I think the one that sticks to me is Boji fighting Boss, but like he's fighting Boss in Daida, but the visuals are like giant Boss fighting Boji.
They visualize it as like Boss's original body, and like I get what they were going for. The animation was just amazing.
It was like an Attack on Titan fight, but like it's them two fighting. I do want to say my favorite character is actually Hilling. From like pretty much episode 2 to the end, she was just my girl. I don't know what it is about these pointy nose bitches, but they're just so charming.
Pointy nose bitches, they do it. And I really liked her art too, because you see flashbacks of like her earlier when Boji was younger, and especially before Daida was around, and how close they were. And then you come back to the present day and see like how distant they are now, and the plot she does against him. And it's kind of like this journey of her coming to the present day and like having to reclaim that relationship with Boji.
That's a good way to put it, and I think it's really well done. And like she's out there in the front lines in that very long sequence of like the underworld people being released on the kingdom. That was like, that's the thing. Like I do feel like the show loses a little bit of like narrative steam, and you're like you're still in there for the characters, but like I feel like the beginning is so strong narratively, and then like he goes on the trip, and like there's the whole side story about the underworld people being released, and it's like it's just not quite as compelling as like the family drama was at the start. At least that's my personal feeling. But
no. One of them I saw when they were released, and then I feel like I didn't see him again until like the last episode.
What, you cut off for a little bit? What was that? Who did you not see?
Like they released all the criminals, and I feel like there's one of them I saw when he got released, and then I didn't see him again until like the very last episode when he came and cut Open's head off.
Just a fucking guy. I did like I like getting King Boss lore, like with the like orc people, and then like just him and Miranjo going on their adventure, just like a lot of good stuff. Like he's a very bad man, that King Boss is, and he deserves everything he got, but he's still a very fascinating character.
No, here's the main thing, right? The show's called Ranking of Kings. I kind of thought the Ranking of Kings would play a bigger role.
Well, I imagine future arcs are going to be like, because at the very end, the underworld guy got to get a treasure from the coffer, right? Like someone.
Yes, he did it, and we didn't see what came of that.
Exactly. So I feel like there's like that whole like thing and that whole organization that ranks the kings is going to be very plot relevant if they animate futures. I know the manga's gone beyond it, but like the art style is very goofy. So
man, maybe I just pick up the manga. I don't know.
You should look like. I think it looks weird. Maybe I'd get used to it, but I just think the show is so pretty. Like,
it's so pretty.
I might just wait the rest of my life to see it.
And here's the thing, you know what? Even as an isolated one season, the concept of the Ranking of Kings, I feel like, is good for the setting, because it lets you know that the few kings you do see, like Boss and the King of the Underworld, like, you know they're not like nobody kings. Like it gets you kind of more invested because you know they're important within this world.
It's true. It's true. I do like. I wish Boji stayed the king. He completely gave it up, right?
I know, man. Yeah, he totally gave it up.
It was such a well-earned thing, but then he gave it up to adventure. It's like you couldn't have adventured while being a king.
But I think it's not just about the adventure. He wants to adventure with his best friend forever.
Oh,
man.
They're so fucking cute.
They're the best.
Tyler, who are your favorite characters in the show?
I like Boji and Kage. They're really fun.
I'm saying, right?
But also, I ended up liking Snake Guy.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Snake Guy, and like he turned out to be like one of the best, like upstanding guys. I feel in the quartet.
I do agree with y'all though. Oaken was literally a force. I liked the king guy. Who is the weird looking king?
Dude, that's everyone. What do you mean?
No. Okay, there was Mad King, who was hilarious, but the king who did Thunder Bagua.
That is that's the king of the underworld.
Yeah, King of the Underworld. I think I liked him a lot.
Yeah, the brother of the teacher. I forgot the teacher's name.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like he inherited all the godlike powers from their father, who I think was a god.
Yeah.
He got all the godlike powers, and then Oaken was the other brother. He got
God,
like really good
insane.
fighting ability. And Despa didn't really get anything, but you know what?
Despa got White King, the fat horse.
Yeah, that's about all I got. He's a little handsome and he's kind of clever.
But you know what? At least he has his fucking marbles, because poor Oaken is just stuck suffering forever. So it is.
I know,
what it
man.
is.
Holy shit.
Well, yeah, great show. We will see how it ranks among the other kings of anime whenever we feel not lazy and talk about our anime rankings again.
Yeah. Good podcast.
Good podcast. That's it. That's all, folks.
That's it. That's all of it.
That's it.
That's it. Bye-bye. Get out. What are you doing? Tyler, go. Listener, leave.
Go! Go!
Be gone.